This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome on another incredible live safari experience filled with a host of amazing characters like this one-horned impala. Absolutely amazing. And this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
And a very good morning on your sunrise safari. Now, my name is Jamie. This morning I have Jean-Dre on camera with me. Brent is out and about with Brian on camera, and Tayla will be making her debut on her very first bushwalk with Viam and Rexon. All in all, a very exciting live safari experience. If you are joining us for the first time, we are coming to you live from 3 different reserves called Djuma, Arathusa and Cheetah Plains, which all fall under the heading of the Sabi Sand in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. Now, not only are we live, but we are also interactive. Ooh, and we have squeaky brakes. We're also interactive, which means that you can send through your questions on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. Perhaps you might want to ask something like, Jamie, why didn't we stay and look at that impala for a little bit longer? And the answer to that is, well, we would have loved to, but there's just so much happening. So thank you to Diane, who sent through the update about Karula and her 2 gorgeous cubs. Karula is a leopard, by the way, seen on the 24-hour dam camera just 40 minutes, must be 50 minutes now, 50 minutes ago. Brent, of course, is hot on her trail, and I think there's a chance the bushwalk team might go and help him out as well. We'll have to see what Taylor's plans are. The reason we're rushing, I actually went in the opposite direction to where Karula was, just to avoid getting in Brent's way, essentially, while he was looking for the tracks. But now we are on our way across the dam wall and off to Hyena Road, where a couple of the guides last night saw the Nkuhumas catch a buffalo. Take my foot off the brake completely. The Nkuhumas proving once again that they are an unstoppable team. Last time I saw them, of course, there was no sunset safari, but those of you who were watching the dam cam will know the last time I saw them, which was disappearing off into the block where Karula has now vanished into as well. And all in all, I think Brent and I might spend our morning circling around this particular spot. Not that there is anything wrong with that. It is chilly this morning, for the fact that it is now summer. We have had a serious cold snap in South Africa. It's snowing on the Drakensberg Mountains, which, not these Drakensberg, not this part of the Drakensberg, that would be unusual. But it is snowing in the central Drakensberg, which means that oh goodness, no touching the brakes, which means that it is 12 degrees, which is 54 in Fahrenheit. No, nippy. Seeing as we've been having temperatures up to certainly over 35 degrees, the sudden cold snap is definitely a chilly experience. Oh, pitter-patter of little tiny feet on the soil. Let me see if I can get a view for you. I know what I forgot this morning. I'm such a silly person. I completely forgot to bring the plaster of Paris. Sorry, standing by. Sorry, everybody. Just got to chat quickly.
Morning, Jamie. Did you get clear directions to where the bomber was last night?
That's a negative. Do you mind standing by for a minute quickly?
No problem.
Copy that, thank you. No, sorry everybody. Alec very kindly wanting to tell me which way to go to get to the lions, but I just wanted to show you the pitter-patter of tiny little leopard feet. Now, all in all, Karula's cub's feet now almost indistinguishable from her own. Try and see if we can work out which is Karula and which are cubs. It's almost impossible at this point. At least her little male cub his feet have grown to the point that they're almost exactly the same size as Karula's. Now this is a leopard track here for any of our new viewers. These are leopard tracks, believe it or not. Now it's not very distinct because first of all the sun hasn't come over the horizon, so there's no light. And second of all, it's quite coarse sand, which means that the impressions that they leave are not very clear. Now that immediately tells you that you've got to be careful about making assumptions. We know that these tracks are crispy, fresh and new from this morning, but they look old, and it's just because of the substrate that they're in. So here, 4 toes, 3, 4, and the back part of the foot, 1, 2, 3. Going everywhere, in every which direction, up, down, round and round. And what that tells us is basically just that the cubs were running up to Mom, weaving in and out of her as they do, going up, butting heads with her, and then crisscrossing back and playing with each other. And you'll usually find tracks for Mom going in a straight line and the cubs dashing about all over the show. She's gone straight in here. However, we are going to go and find the lions, I think, unless we bump into Karula, which would be wonderful. Alrighty. Alright, I think since we're talking about tracking Karula, it's time for us to send you across to the man who is involved in tracking Karula. Let's see what Brent has to say.
Welcome to a chilly Juma private game reserve, and of course my name is Brent Smith. I have a Brian Joubert and the Thumb. Today the Thumb is wearing his work tie, but he's a little tired under the eyes, but he's excited to find Karula just as we are. So the last tracks of Karula and the cubs were heading straight north into the block opposite the Gowrie Dam. Now what we're doing is we're making sure she hasn't crossed north into Buffalo's Hook. I don't think she has, but I'm checking for tracks. If not, I'm going to loop back right to the spot where Jamie showed you those tracks, and I might traipse into the bush on foot. Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you would like to send through any questions. Now, at the moment, Brian and I are perusing every tree, and I'm hoping to see a tail dangling or an tree climbing impala. No luck so far. Oh, what have you seen, Brian? Nothing. I thought. Nothing. No, unfortunate, but we'll keep moving. And we're going to go around to Mvubu Road and then zip around Mvubu, make sure she hasn't come slightly more to the west, and hopefully we'll find her. I'm very, very sure that she's got a kill somewhere close by, and the fact that she fetched both the cubs from quite a long way away. So yesterday afternoon, they were seen deep inside Little Gowrie. So far, no tree climbing impalas, no tails dangling. But it is going to be, I think, a very productive morning. And of course, Jamie's let you know the incredible Nkuhumas were at it again. Hashtag buffalo in my face. Hi, Sandy. Sandy's wondering, has anyone seen Tundi's cubs yet? Yes, they were both seen, both were safe. The baboons did not manage to catch either of them. They were quite a long way away from where we saw them on the boundary, and Tundi actually abandoned her impala kills because of those baboons and went quite far south from there. Okay, so good news, and it's very seldom we don't want to see tracks, and one of the times we don't want to see tracks going north is when we're perusing the northern boundary. We don't mind tracks going south. So far, no tracks going north. That's good news, and we're going to head along Mvubu now, and oh no, that's bad news. Sometimes I wish I couldn't see tracks, then I'd be oblivious to what's left us. Now that looks like tracks of just Karula. I just want to make sure that you got them there, Brian. And there we go. So that looks like tracks of Krula, but just Krula. So that could have been earlier while she was hunting. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out of the car. I'm going to walk up and down the road here, make sure there's no tracks of the cubs as well, and hopefully they're still in this block to the south of us. But while we do that, Tayla is making her debut on Shank's pony.
Good morning, and have a look at that sunrise. Isn't it quite spectacular this morning? Now, you're probably not going to recognize me out the vehicle, but I actually have an entire body, and my name is Tayla, and on camera with me we have got VM, and I hope that you're having a wonderful morning thus far. Now, you've joined us on a little bit of a chilly morning, not as cold as yesterday though, so it's not too bad out here. Still in shorts, as you can see. Vim's all layered up. Now, our plan for this morning is to explore this wonderful piece of land that we are able to walk about, and I quite enjoy walking. I'm very excited to be out here. I haven't walked in ages, and I can tell you that there's a lot of things that you miss when you're driving around in those big noisy vehicles, so it's very nice to be down here this morning. So we're moving in a westerly direction. That's going to be our plan. We're going to check a few sea plants. At the moment we're going through a sea plant, lots of terminalias, so lots of silver cluster leaves around, and I haven't really got too much of a plan this morning. Still trying to figure that one out, sort of going to go with the flow. But something I would like to find, I want to find the biggest tree that has been pushed down by an elephant on Nkuhuma. So that's my goal. I've given that goal to Rexon, seeing as he knows the property so well. So he's going to help me find something. But something that I do want to show you now, before the heat of the day sort of starts bubbling and boiling away, I want to show you something that's going to help you keep those insects at bay. So just bear with me for 2 seconds. Now, need to find the right piece. And now I know that Steph, the king of bushwalks, that one's not going to work. That is unfortunately a little bit sandy. Let's go around the corner, and we know it's going to be exceptionally hot this morning, and this afternoon we were all dreading it, and with the heat we know it brings insects, which is not great. Biting insects. Lots of mosquitoes around at the moment, which is also not great. Now I'm looking for some elephant dung. Some of you may have seen me do this before. Now I need to dig into my pocket. Now I'm not going to try and start a fire like Steph did. I'll just fail miserably. But aha! Got a trusty red lighter. Now we've got these big little balls of elephant dung. And this is quite nice. It's not too old. Bit of termite activity, so we'll just dig until we find it. I'm just looking for a small piece, really. Let's take this bit over here. Now, get up, and I don't want to lose my trusty stick that I point out tracks with. Put that in. It's like a bit of a wand this morning. Now I'm going to just quickly light this, and it's something that works so well. We need to just see if we can get it going first. Steph's sort of lighter sticks work a little bit better. I think I may invest in some of those. Now, I'm going to get a bit of smoke going. Now you may think I'm crazy picking up all this poop and burning it, but don't worry, it's just vegetation. So I'm not particularly worried. Now have a look here. See how it's burning? See that lovely smoke? I wish you could smell it. I wish I could waft the smoke through the camera so you could see exactly what I'm talking about. And it's delicious. It's quite amazing. So if I had to try and describe the smell to you, maybe it's like if you were burning tea with a couple of leaves that you picked up off the ground, maybe even a few pine needles. It's an interesting smell. So it's not bad. So you can actually burn it in your home and almost use it as an incense, I suppose. It's quite nice. People will ask you, what is that? And it smells quite foreign, but not like regular poop, thank goodness. Now, what it does is, with all the different types of vegetation that the elephants are eating, we know they eat quite a variety of different things. Something in here the insects do not like. It causes them to fly away and leave the area, which is amazing. So something that I used to do in Zambia quite often for the tsetse flies and all the mosquitoes and all the other biting insects that were around, they were a real pest when you were trying to do a game drive, is that I'd take an old jam tin, I'd take a screwdriver and I'd poke lots and lots of holes in the side, and I'd take a few bits of elephant dung and pop it in and just light it a little bit like this and just let it smolder. It dangles, so as we were moving it would move around and the smoke would blow onto us. Quite amazing. And we never ever got bitten by tsetse flies when we had the elephant dung. burning. So I think we're going to have to start doing that in camp instead of using all the citronella oil, which we know that works quite well and smells quite nice too. I think we've got all this elephant dung lying around. We might as well make use of it. What do you think? I think it's a great idea. Right, I'm just going to very quickly put this out to make sure that I don't burn Duma down. Okay, so we're going to carry on walking now. We're going to go towards this sort of thicket in the distance, as you can see. So it's going to get a little bit dense. I'm going to have to use my ears, my nose, of course, and my eyes very well. But as we walk, good morning, Debbie. Debbie from Vancouver wants to know what's my favorite thing to look for while out on a bushwalk. Many different things. The smaller, the better. You know, something that I haven't seen that I've just heard everybody talking about, and particularly Steph, is a pseudo scorpion. Those really, really tiny scorpions. That's what I'd love, and that's what I'd love to find at some point. I think it's still a little bit chilly, so possibly as we go into the warm months, that'll be something that I'll be able to look for. We're actually making our way towards a really big marula tree. We're going to see. Now, Debbie, I'm trying to think what else I love to see when we're in the bush. Got to do a bit of thinking. I love the terminalias. Those wonderful trees that provide that lovely rope that we've seen Steph and everybody else making. But while I continue towards the marula tree and see what it's got for us, let's go to Jamie, who's got the largest African land mammal.
A couple of large animals, actually, starting off the morning with a beautiful elephant cow munching away on whatever it is that she happened to find. Now, the reason that we are parked a little bit further away from them is because they had a little internal scuffle just as we arrived, and I don't want them sort of taking out their frustration on me. But this cow's perfectly relaxed. I don't know what caused the dissatisfaction. And elephants often do have internal scuffles, pushing one away from the food that they want. And very often it is the older cows, just like this one, and disciplining a younger member of the herd, making sure to maintain order and keep everybody in line. And we were on our way to those lions, and this is exactly where I was going to go off-road in order to go find them. But I think it's nice to spend just a little bit of time with these amazing creatures. Oh, big girl. What you after? You could see it in her body language there. She was just wandering towards us, not towards us in particular, just going looking for something more to eat. And then you could almost see it with her trunk sort of sifting from side to side. She immediately caught the scent of something that she wanted to eat. I'm surprised that it was a guarri bush, especially now that there is so much greenery about. It was unexpected. Guarri bushes generally don't have much in the way of nutrition. Hi, big girl. How are you? You're very beautiful. Isn't this a lovely image? Oh, my girl. Beautiful and peaceful. Hello, my girl. Okay, it's all right. Oh, shame. What a well-mannered elephant. I'm sorry, girl. Did you have to go right under that stick to get past us? Oh, I love that feeling. There is nothing like it. When an elephant walks towards you, clearly peaceful, absolutely no signs of aggression, no concern at all, giving you a view of those incredible deep brown eyes. And luckily for us, of course, our cameramen know exactly how to behave, without moving quickly or suddenly or anything that might startle the elephant while she is so close. They are big, much bigger than us, and it's important to remember that, and they are entirely wild, but at the same time, really, honestly, there is nothing better than that feeling. There's a spider web there. complete with tiny, tiny worm. Really tiny worm. Some kind of caterpillar or something. Minuscule. Cute. Okay, what to do with you, buddy? Put you somewhere. While we've got elephants coming up on either side of us. Hello. Some people going through on their way towards that lion kill. I'm not in any rush though. I'm going to settle here and just enjoy some time with these elephants. Well, that, and I actually can't go anywhere just at the moment without startling them. So for now, we'll just sit and enjoy. Get this little one just starting to grow its tusks. Just a couple of inches poking out of its skin. I always wonder if for baby elephants the process of growing their tusks is a little bit of an uncomfortable one. Just like children teething, or cubs or puppies or kittens teething. I mean, a tusk is a tooth, so it stands to reason. Hello. And you? Ah, I'm clearly not as interesting as that gardenia, am I? No, that's much more interesting, little boy. Oh, hello. Yes, very scary. Very scary. You put me in my place. I know. Little head shake from a young male. They're always one of the most entertaining members of the herd, just because they like to throw their weight around every now and again, which in his case is a relatively insubstantial weight comparatively. He's still very, very young. But they like to throw their weight around because they're testing their boundaries. Like any teenager, trying to see just how big and scary they truly are. I was intimidated. Were you intimidated, Chandra? Chandra was terrified. Hey, gorgeous. Yes, little boy. Oh, I've spoken about the fact that it is very important to remember that these are entirely wild animals and that we have to be respectful of their space. Even a male like this, I'm making light of it, but even he would be capable of doing substantial damage. And it's important to remember that on foot as well. An elephant breeding herd can be one of the most dangerous things to encounter on foot if you don't know what you're doing and if you don't do things properly. Now, Emma, you wanted to know what the maximum running speed of an elephant is. The reason I'm telling you this is because we always talk about the fact that you should never ever run away from an animal out here. And that applies to elephants as well. At full charge, an elephant can cover almost 15 meters per second. That's 45 feet, almost, in 1 second. Just sit for a moment and grasp that running speed. Just think about just how fast that truly is. And you realize that you can't actually outrun anything out here. So an elephant might look slow and lumbering, but in fact, when they want to, they are capable of reaching tremendous speeds. Far faster than any human being, which makes sense. Their legs are 2 meters long. That helps when you're trying to move quickly. What you doing, boy? Oh, I think he's just found a really nice way of resting his weight and feeding at the same time. And off he goes. These elephants are feeding in some quite dense vegetation. And I am probably going to leave them now without trying to reposition, because if I try and reposition now, I'm going to end up splitting the herd, getting between the different members, the different herd members. And I'm quite excited about the adventure that awaits us. I want to get to those lions before it starts to get hot and they start to get tired and lazy. Right, so while we head off-road to go and search for them, let's go back across to Tayla, who's found something fascinating on her bushwalk.
Well, you're going to have to come and have a closer look, I'm afraid. This is a very small little insect that we managed to pick up on the ground. Thanks, Steph. Steph is off in the distance. And as you can see, I'm just trying to have a look at it. This is one of the crested locust hoppers. Interesting looking thing, don't you think? Now, we were able to catch it. I know James would have absolutely loved this in the tent this morning. but lucky for us it was a little bit cold still, so it hasn't got the spring in its step like it normally does. You can see there it's got a little bit of sun. It's slowly starting to warm up. I've intentionally faced it towards the sun, giving it a little bit of a helping hand. Otherwise you are going to fall victim. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the locust because I'm talking to him now. You are going to fall victim to something that eats insects. So there's lots of birds out here. I saw some hornbills flying over. He better be very careful, but we won't scare him too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put him back down now. And normally they're quite impressive when they do have the sun up on them and they are slightly warmer. They can leap quite big lengths, and that's one of the things that they will do. There we go. Just want to put it down so I don't disturb it too much, but I'll carry on talking about it. Now, they're able to jump those very, very far distances, and that's one of the things that they will try and do to try and get away from perhaps a predator. And I don't know if you noticed that lovely tawny colour that it had. Don't you think it blends in with the leaves and everything else that's around at the moment? Amazing camouflage. So as it leaps off into the distance and lands down in a pile of leaves, I'm sure it will hope to, it blends in. It'll sit very still. However, if whatever is looking for it hops on after it, they tend to leap a few more times. And then what I've noticed that they do, now I've picked this up because I've spent quite a few afternoons in the tent with James, and I've worked out what the insects like to do now, especially if they are of the hopping kind. Jumping. They jump from spot to spot, and they seem to do that 3 or 4 times, and then they completely freeze. Even when I put my foot right next to one of them that would be on the ground, they stay frozen and they hope that I haven't seen them. Now, with them jumping away all the time, they're obviously using quite a fair amount of energy. So obviously when we catch them and then we release them again. But it's quite amazing that they aren't able to keep up that jumping for such a long time. They need to actually rely on the most basic natural instinct that they have, which is to freeze, and often that works. But let's move on. So there was nothing at the marula tree that I wanted to show you, unfortunately. I'm looking for some evidence of elephants and everything else, but we're going to carry on walking on through here. And one of the other things I want to try and find is termites today. Let's carry on. Yes, good morning, Dina. Dina, so something that you were asking about, you were wondering, do locusts make noise? Of course they do. Like most insects, they have either different ways of making it. Now, the most common thing that a locust will do is stridulate, where they rub their back legs together very quickly, and it creates a high-pitched clicking noise, I suppose you could say. You know the hum of a cricket or a locust. That's how they do that, by stridulating. Some animals use their wings and their various different ways. Some bang their heads on the ground like the talky beetles. That's quite interesting to see. They're not their heads, their abdomens. And that's how they communicate and look for mates. But we're going to check this big termite mound. Now we better be careful because I can see a hole in this termite mound. You know what that means? Something's probably living inside there. Now what we're going to do, VM, is we're going to go around from the side. So I'm going to just sneak through here. We don't want to approach whatever's living inside there from the front, in case it does decide to come charging out to us. So I'm going to just talk a little bit, so that it doesn't, if there is something in there, it doesn't get a surprise. Now, if it was a warthog, it would probably be out already because it's warmed up enough. But I am just going to quickly check. And like I said, don't ever approach a hole from the front. Come along at the side and have a look. Now, this is definitely an active burrow of some kind. There are no spider webs and sort of covering the entrance of a hole, and that's usually an indication that there's nothing living inside there anymore. And if you have a look, you can see how clean the entrance is there. Very few leaves. Now, I do see a few little warthog prints coming out, so I suspect that is from last night that they went in, and now they have come out. But it's quite a spectacular mound. Now, even though I said that I think the warthogs have come out, this could be used by 2 different species of animals, not just the warthogs, but of course the aardvark, the ant bear, the ant eater, whichever one you prefer. And we know that the aardvark come out at night time, or during that first hour as the sun goes down. So it's not always 100% dark. And during the day, they don't run around exposing themselves. They're quite shy and quite vulnerable. So they'll come into a burrow like this, and that's the perfect size to fit a medium-sized aardvark. They can get quite big, so it's quite important. And they'll constantly keep changing their little houses. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. However, I know a few of you have been wanting to see a jackal, and Jamie's got one.
I've got a very skittish jackal, and I'm going to have to reposition. I was hoping to avoid that eventuality, just so that we don't scare it. But we've got a side-striped jackal. How exciting is that? Can you see it there, Genre? No. Oh, no. Come on, Jigger. Let's go backwards a little bit. A jackal is an animal, surprisingly, that we hardly ever get to see. So to see a side-striped jackal is a wonderful surprise. And of course, it's one of those fascinating things about jackal is they're often to be found in close proximity to lion kills, looking to see if they can gain any scraps. In fact, the last buffalo kill close to Buffelshoek Dam, we had an amazing sighting of a black-backed jackal. But the side-striped jackal is not being quite so generous with our attention. Sorry everybody, I'm sure it's still around. I don't think it's going to go too far. Let's try and get around to where the lion kill is. We might be able to get a better view of it from there. What a pity. I have no idea where it went. Absolutely none. It vanished. It's almost like it melted into the thick monkey orange. Oh, hold on, is that it there? No, it's not. Almost. Almost. Concentrating to see if I can't spot it for you again, and at the same time trying not to crash into a tree, so bear with me one moment. Oh dear, I think it has for now disappeared. But I think if we go and sit patiently with the lions and their kill, there's a very good chance that that jackal might decide to come back. Jackal are surprisingly bold when it comes to their scavenging technique. Often quite happy to slip right up to predators, much, much larger than themselves, and go and see if they can snatch up a little scrap or two here and there. Although I think even a jackal will know better than to tangle with protective lionesses. They're right here, just in front of us. Not sure if you've managed to spot those over the top of my head. There we go. There's our lions, tucking into a well-earned meal. Let's go sit with them, and hopefully that jackal will make another appearance. This isn't my fault, by the way. There's a slight problem with the spring. And you just have to very gently hold the key turned, or else it just turns itself off again. Okay, let's go and see which lions are there. If there's, I think I see a Birmingham boy, and how big the buffalo is that they managed to kill. Can you believe we're on the exact same 2-track that we've been using for the last few months to get to buffalo kills in this particular spot? It seems as though the lions have perfected a technique of waiting for herds of buffalo or lone dugger boys, the lone males, to move through towards the waterhole for a drink, towards Nkuhuma Dam, and they pounce, taking full advantage of this very dense vegetation to trap the buffalo and to stop it from getting away. They've perfected it. It's incredible. There's 2 buffalo kills, old buffalo kills there, and there's one just a little bit further to the north of us. That's how successful these lions have been, and that's just from the last, that's my last work cycle, so it's 6 weeks. They've killed 4 buffalo in this exact spot. Oh, I didn't realize, but actually that makes sense. Debbie in Vancouver, thanks for sending that through. Debbie said that you could hear the kill happening on the dam camera last night. I have to tell you, it's one of my worst sounds. I know of course it is all part of nature and it's necessary, and when we see these cubs with full bellies, it'll make us happy, but I really, really don't like that sound of the buffalo distress calls. It's heart-wrenching. But I'm not surprised you can hear it from the dam, because we're probably only about 700 meters or so away. I feel as though these cubs get bigger every time I see them, which is silly, because of course they do. I'm just stopping here for one moment, just to have a look and get sort of the lay of the land. What are you roaring about? Ow! What's got you so cross? Look at the little guy at the back with his head on the branch. Perhaps bored with their breakfast already. David, he wants to know if I think that lions ever get bored of eating buffalo. Do they have taste buds? You know, it's funny that you should ask that. We often sort of think about whether or not animals get bored or perhaps revolted by the rotten meat that they eat. And the answer is, I don't think that they ever get bored. Their instinct just tells them to eat and eat and eat, obviously, and they would never turn down a meal. As to whether or not they have taste buds, they do have taste buds, but not quite as refined as ours, and also geared towards different tastes. So enjoying different things. So what to us would be green and slimy meat. Oh, look at that! Isn't that gorgeous? Oh! Oh, shame. Oh, suitably chastened. I hope you all took note of the moment where the male backed away from the cub, thrashing with its claws. Suitably chastened, the little cub has returned to the comfort and slightly gentler games of its siblings and cousins. That was incredible. That male wasn't going to die in any way, shape or form. Oh, here he comes now. Intercepted by one curious cub. We could get some seriously interesting growling happening here. Oh, I don't think the lionesses are even thinking about challenging him. He knows he has the right to the meal. Now, the Birmingham boy would be more likely to be aggressive with the females around the kill than he would with the cubs, although every now and again one little cub will get the odd disciplining. Oh, you see? There we go. He's claimed it as his own. The lionesses are all displaced. Very, very typical lion feeding behavior. Everybody fights for their right at the carcass, but generally the males are the winners. But because the cubs are his, he's more likely to be slightly gentler with him than he would otherwise be with the lionesses. It is astounding how much these lions are eating at the moment. Makes total sense, with males to feed and to look after, and with the cubs also growing, 8 hungry little bellies. The lionesses are having to constantly hunt. Here we go, the lioness doing something very interesting here. She's covering the stomach contents of the buffalo, which is instinctive lion behavior to help protect the carcass. So she's essentially trying to hide one of the smelliest parts of it, which is the stomach contents. So when the lionesses, or when lions kill their prey, and leopards as well actually for the most part, they immediately set about disemboweling the carcass and then often move the carcass away from where they are going to plan on feeding. Oh, he's got things on his mind other than breakfast this morning. He's not going to have any luck there though. That's a lactating female. That's one of the females with cubs. What gorgeous light. Let's go head across because Zebra Tayla has found a really cute zebra for you.
I'm not a cute zebra, but over there we've got some really amazing zebra. I can't actually believe what I'm witnessing at the moment. I've struggled for my entire life to get zebra to stand still in a vehicle. Never mind being on foot. They normally see you and dart off like you cannot believe. Now, I've walked probably around them now for the last 15 minutes or so. I've been chatting like normal, talking loudly, and they don't seem to mind us at all. It's quite ridiculous. They're even coming a little bit closer to us. So VM and I have just perched ourselves up onto a big termite mound, and we're just watching them. And it's so beautiful to be able to sit here and watch these animals in the most natural way possible. There's no interference with the vehicles, no noise, we haven't disturbed them. They are completely relaxed with us. And zebras are often the first ones to give away our presence, the human presence, when you are walking in the bush, or maybe even when there's a predator. They've got phenomenal eyesight. And I just wonder if these three zebra don't perhaps hang around the DRC quite a bit and walk around in those areas that they maybe have seen people and they're not particularly scared of us anymore. It's amazing. Or maybe for the fact that I just haven't tried to hide myself and I've been talking normally, they know I'm here. This is really, really incredible. And this is what happens, is that if you continue interacting positively with these animals and unfortunately not shooting them like what was happening when the settlers were arriving in Africa, you eventually get this amazing interaction where they're not tame. By no means are they tame, but they are just completely relaxed with us. We are not a predator. These zebras feel as though it feels like that they do not think we're a predator. They've got their heads down, they're eating. It's bizarre. And with a little foal. I can't believe what I'm witnessing. So I didn't want to. Can you hear also all those lovely birds? No, maybe not. I don't think you can hear the birds. It may be a bit soft, but they're all finally deciding to wake up. And speaking of young foals, I know that David from Napa says he's got a zebra foal called Colt. Great name for a boy. I hope it's a boy. Oh, sorry. I thought Kirsty said that you had one and that you'd named it Colt. Yes, David. Serious pudding brain this morning. They are indeed very much what you would call a horse, from a stallion to a mare to a colt. You name it. It's exactly the same. Quite incredible. Look, they really are coming closer. This one that I'm sure VM is showing you is coming right up to us, just feeding on not a very well used animal pathway, and then coming straight towards us. Now there is a nice ring of green grass around the termite mound, so I suspect that they're probably going to feed towards us. And they know we're here. They haven't even put their heads up really. They looked at us once when we were coming in from the back, and then I did a big loop, and now they don't mind. We are not more than about 40 meters away from this, maybe not even 40 meters from this zebra. It's still coming towards us. I'm going to sit here for a little bit and just see what happens. It was quite amazing. Now, while we watch the zebra, I did want to quickly finish off my story about the termite mound. Something that I wanted to tell you is we were chatting about how there are two different animal species, or actually a number of different species that will utilize these different burrows, and sometimes they rotate from morning shifts to evening shifts, and they won't use the same burrows for too long because of the buildup of parasites. That's something that I wanted to mention. Oh, and there's an impala at the back as well. Oh my goodness, all the animals are coming to us. I'm done. I'm not driving anymore. I'm just going to walk. It seems as though the animals prefer me on foot and not when I come around in those noisy things. Now the foal is actually, we're going to see it now. It might be hard, but the other two zebra are making a move. They're beelining straight towards us. Now we're not in danger either. They're not showing any threatening signs. And even though it's just a zebra, don't think that a zebra couldn't harm you. They kick and bite like horses. You saw James often shows the zebra teeth that he has in the tent. That little zebra having a rub. Right. I think before we give the zebra a fright, we're possibly going to sneak over the back of the termite mound. And while we do that, let's go back to Jamie and the lion cubs.
And there's one thing we've learned about these little lion cubs. Oh, You did that deliberately, little one, just so that my rest of my sentence didn't make sense. Ah, there we go. One thing we've learned about these lion cubs, they love scapulars. Scapulars make an amazing toy. In the last buffalo kill around Buffelshoek Dam, they were busy playing with the scapula, and they're doing exactly the same thing with this buffalo's shoulder bone. I think it's the shape of it. It's flat, it's convenient, it pops out easily, so it's not connected to the rest of the carcass, and it makes for a brilliant toy. Oh, little one lost it to one of the older cubs. Oh, you just got into trouble for bugging Amber Eyes. Go play with your scapula, little one. Let Amber Eyes rest. Game of tug-of-war between two cubs of different ages. This is such a beautiful scene. I barely know where to look. Every now and again they get their claws stuck in it. It's thoroughly entertaining. Right, done with the scapula for now. On to tree climbing practice 101. Oh, no, back to the scapula. They do have relatively short attention spans. There's all kinds of amazing things around a buffalo carcass. Ouch, tail. Oh no. The bigger and the stronger cub walks away with the prize. For now. But never worry. The little cub will get a chance to play with it once again, as soon as this one gets bored of it. Oh, standing on it now. You see what a brilliant toy it makes? It levers when they stand on it, it's got ridges to grab it, bits of flesh to pull. Just so much fun, endless amusement. My goodness gracious me, did you just see the belly on that cub? These cubs are just bellies with legs and very sharp teeth in front. Couldn't be happier to see them look as healthy as they do. Oh, I've returned to claim my prize. Nope, never mind. On to other... Oopsie. All kinds of things to investigate. I could be mistaken, but I think that this little cub is one that has developed a particular character. Now, it's hard to tell. It's been hard to tell the difference between all of the different cubs. It is one of the youngest ones, but I did notice quite a long time ago that there is one cub in particular from the youngest set. Sorry, I'm just going to turn Brent right off. He's still talking. Here we go. There is one cub in particular that has a particularly curious nature. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's this little one. Covered in buffalo muck, and I think definitely having got some kind of skin disease. It's a bit scabby and bald. Not necessarily mange. We can't draw that conclusion just yet. Up it gets again. Oomph. Still lively, full of life, and actually not scratching very much at all. This cub is still happy and healthy. You see what I mean? All the other cubs are occupied with feeding or playing with something. This little one just wanders around from cub to cub and from character to character and just causes nonsense. It's the same cub that we just saw go up to the male. Ha ha, got your tail. Got your tail. Tails make the best new toys. Especially when your cousin is so full that they can't be bothered to fight back. Oh. There we go. Ouch. Just bear in mind just how sharp those little teeth must be. Resplendent. In all its dignity, with the belly so round it doesn't know where to put it. I hope you're all getting some amazing screenshots, because soon these cubs will be absolutely massive, and we'll look back very fondly on moments like this. Where I'm sorry, that is... We try and avoid too much anthropomorphism, but this little cub lying there with its paw across its belly is just the picture of overindulgence. It's incredible. All the other cubs are wandering around, keeping themselves thoroughly entertained. Oh, such an amazing scene. Coming through to Mum for a good bath. Oh, somebody wants to suckle. And Mum is not rolling over. Spoken quite a bit about this, the fact that if you won't roll, I'll dig my way to the milk bar. We've spoken a bit about this, about the fact that the females, some of the females are no longer lactating, or lactating very little, which means that there's lots of squealing and squawking going on, and tantrums. You can see how reduced the nipples are on the females, on some of the females. They are still producing a little bit of milk, but not much. Oh, look, tantrum. Oh, somebody's emerged with a face full of buffalo, and the poor lioness is trying to wander through without... Cub is absolutely hilarious. Still having the odd tantrum. Oh, wow. These lionesses are absolutely incredible. Providing for their family, gently playing with them, and then transforming into incredibly efficient hunters. Hey girl, this is the oldest lioness. She's got a chipped canine tooth if you look closely, and she's the mother of the middle set of cubs, so the two little females. Wow, how's that for a stomach? Ah, you blocked the best view. Oh well. Tamira, you wanted to know what the age difference is between all of these cubs. We don't know exactly, because obviously we don't know exactly when they were born. However, I can tell you that the oldest and the middle set are relatively close to each other. Aww. Sorry, Tamira. I'm so distracted. This is just too gorgeous. Come on, help your mom out. Help her clean all the muck off her chin. Mom's done a very good job of cleaning you up there, little one. Sorry, Tamira. So the oldest set must be close to 5 or so months now. I would say that the middle set are probably maybe 2 to 3 weeks younger than that. And then the youngest set, there's almost 2 months difference between the oldest and the youngest set. So there you go, you've got a nice example. Look at the size with one of the older ones. Or potentially at this point one of the middle set. It's getting hard to tell them apart. Oh, Scapula's made a reappearance, of course. These lion cubs are just incredible. Constantly entertaining. I've been seeing scattered tracks of the buffalo that these that these lions chased last night, and I think that Brent may well have found the herd that this poor buffalo came from.
because I'm not very impressed with these buffalo. I'm trying to track a leopard here, and they've obliterated my tracks. So far, I've only found tracks of Karula crossing north, so none of the cubs. And I've walked the bottom half of this block, but we haven't walked the top half. But this big herd of buffalo, they spread all the way from Mvul Road right almost to Gari Cutline. It has made life very difficult. Here they are, for some of them at least. Oh, there's a nice big bull. Quite jumpy, and understandably so. Pretty sure this is the same herd that the Nkuhumas grabbed a buffalo out of last night. Some of them still not looking too good. The hips are showing quite badly. And some of them are starting to pick up condition. I've definitely made our Karula tracking a lot more difficult. But it's a good thing that the killer bees like a challenge. And remember, #Safari Live. If you've got any questions. There's probably, I reckon, about 300 or so buffalo in this herd. Which means about 1,500 feet to obliterate tracks. Now it looks like they're actually heading down towards the Juma lodges. Slowly but surely. I'm going to keep searching for a Karula. So on the fire break here, I've only got tracks of her. And I know everyone saw her on the dam cam with both of the cubs, Shungile and Hasana. So my gut's telling me that she's still here somewhere. So always good to go with your gut, especially when the buffalo removed any chance of seeing tracks. So I might roll the dice. Oof, more buffalo coming. An interesting question from Justin. Oh, more. This is maybe more than 300. Justin's wondering, how long do I think a human being could sit on the back of a buffalo while it's bucking? Now, after watching lions on the back of the buffalo, I would say 0.2 of a second, maybe less. When you're designed and are an expert at bucking lions off your back, I think a human being poses very little of a challenge to buck off. Oh, there's still more coming through. They just keep coming. Now they'll definitely be hoping for a little more rain. Now if we don't get any rain in the next sort of 2 weeks, this green flush can disappear very quickly. The trees will still be flushing, but the grass will disappear quite quickly. Okay, now Brian and I have some decisions to make. Moo to you too. I think it's time we're going to have to go with the gut and have a little gamble. What I mean by that is that I've walked the bottom half of this block till about here. And maybe it's time to walk the top half. But I'm probably going to leave the area first, and I'm going to wait for those buffalo to move through. So if I walk into there now, that herd will stampede, and that might chase Karula and the cubs. So I'm going to give the buffalo a bit of time to move through the area before I go walking again. And while we do that, let's go see how Tayla's debut is going.
You won't believe what we've just come across. I'm not going to talk too loudly. Now, in the distance, Rexon spotted 2 honey badgers. Can you believe it? While we're on foot, we hardly get to see on the vehicle. We're going to try and see if we can get another view of them, but I suspect it's going to be quite difficult. Like I said, they're shy when we're in the vehicles. They're going to be a lot shyer when we're out on foot. But let's walk. Now, the honey badgers are easily, and I'm quite confident in saying this, the most ferocious animals in Africa, if not possibly in the world, though the Tasmanian devil could be a contender. Right, we've got to find a nice little way. Let's see, we're going to pick up the pace a little bit here, so it may be a bit bouncy as we walk through this difficult terrain. I know Liam's trying to concentrate. We're trying to catch up with these honey badgers. Now, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about them in case we don't get to see them. Honey badgers, to describe them, is like a Tasmanian devil crossed with a skunk. So it's got the attitude of a Tasmanian devil, however, the colouring of a skunk. And they're armed with massive big claws, which they're able to dig really, really well with. And they're actually very good climbers and escape artists. There's some very famous footage of a honey badger who climbs out of any enclosure that it is put in. We'll try and meander through this terminalia forest, the silver cluster leaf forest, as we try and get closer. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what on earth were those honey badgers out doing during the day? Now, it's still a little bit, it's nice and cool this morning, so perhaps they're still out scavenging and foraging for something early in the morning, but I suspect that they'll most likely go back and have a little rest. Now, something that I would like to really see as well is the interaction. I've only seen it once between a honey badger and a dark chanting goshawk. They have a little symbiosis going on, which is quite amazing as well. So often you'll get those goshawks scrounging about looking for all sorts of things to eat, and occasionally the odd invertebrate or something will come out and about and the goshawk won't grab it. Well, the honey badger's there to snatch it. So, sorry Viam, we're trying to not get the big aerial caught on anything. Alright, there we go. Right. Now, there are lots of termite mounds around here, and they could have easily gone into one of those. There's actually a burrow right here. Now, if you look down here, this would have been a perfect escape route for something like the honey badger to sort of go into and try and hide away. However, I think that they have probably run for their lives after seeing us. And I know that Flaming Sock would like to know, what's my scariest honey badger moment? Thankfully, I haven't had too many. However, one night when I was working in Zambia and I was locking up the bar, I went to bed, and then I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my goodness, I forgot to pull one of the metal gates closed. Now, we had to sort of barricade the bar up, I suppose you could say, because the honey badgers were such a nightmare. They would climb, they would push all the bottles out, they would move all the glasses, they'd just destroy the place. Got up quickly, can you imagine me in my pajamas, my slippers, shuffling down. All the guests are fast asleep. Of course, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. No one was allowed to walk around. Flying over, lots of birds and things flying overhead. So I go down, and as I get there, I hear glasses breaking. I know straight away, I'm too late. The honey badger's there. So I went around the corner and I saw him, and anybody that does know, you cannot chase a honey badger away. They chase you away. So I stood in the corner and watched it as it pushed over all the glasses, and I didn't want to go in and chase it because I would have cornered it, because it was inside the bar and the only way out was where I was coming from. So I decided to just let it do its thing. What I did do though is I turned the lights on, so that gave it a little bit of a fright. So thankfully it didn't destroy the complete bar, it just broke a few glasses, and then off it went, which was great. But there was no ways I was going to face that honey badger, and especially in my pajamas and my slippers. That would have been terrible. Imagine if the guest had heard my screams and come running out to try and help me, damsel in distress, and there I was. I would have felt very vulnerable. Now, it seems as though those honey badgers have unfortunately got away from us, but that's all right. It was amazing. We only just got a very quick glimpse of them. It was quite difficult to spot them. And that's going to be something that we're always looking for, just as the sun goes down. And now that I know that there is a pair around here, now I'm not sure if it was a male or a female. It could have even been a mother and its offspring. They look of equal size though. And of course I didn't get a good enough look. But now that I know that there are some around here, they are creatures of habits, perhaps it'll be interesting to come through here next time I do a bushwalk and see if they're still around. But let's carry on. Now I'm looking for a big marula tree, and I can see a rather large one and a really straight one actually. That must be the straightest marula tree I've ever seen. Let's go see. Oh, actually, I think we're going to have some fun. So stay with me for a few more moments while we make our way to these marula trees. And you can see there's quite a lot of marula trees here. They like to grow on these sandy crests. And if you look down at the soil, you can actually see it is quite sandy. So this is the type of soil. They're quite robust trees. They're not too difficult to grow. Now, I'm particularly looking for damage that the elephants have caused to the marulas. I might be a bit cheeky in saying this, but I think that the marula tree is the favorite tree of the elephants for various different reasons. But I think we're going to go to this one first, because I think I see what I've been looking for. So we're going to go around, move through all the monkey orange, and I'm hooked. I'm not hooked anymore, I'm unhooked. We're also always looking, listening. It's quite thick in here, with all the new growth of vegetation. Or VM, watch all these spiky thorns. I'm taking VM through a trap, but we're getting there. We're getting to exactly what I've been looking for most of the morning, which is quite exciting. Yay! I've literally checked every marula that I've walked past for these signs that I'm about to show you. Fantastic, this has worked out wonderful. It's amazing how nature just provides for you. Now, we've obviously got this massive marula tree, and I'm sure you can see the discoloration on the bark over there. See that? That is mud. And that, well, it's not too much mud, but it's from the elephants that have been rubbing up on this tree. And I wish you could feel the bark of a marula. The marula bark, you can see the little grooves in between. It's lovely. It's so rough. If I was an elephant, I'd also want to lean up on it and have a good score. Oh, that feels amazing. Just give me a moment. I'm just joking. It's really nice fissured bark, and it's one of the few trees where all the grooves and the roughness of the bark will actually help relieve a scratch, or an itch, sorry, on an elephant. That's why we see this. Now, normally they like to rub up on these trees, particularly after they've had a mud bath, and we often see them having mud baths, but it's not always that we catch them in the act of having a rub. So it's quite nice to have a look for any parasite. We look up here that have maybe been dislodged in between the bark, but it doesn't look like this was done too recently. It actually seems fairly old. Now, if you come around the corner, there's something else that I want to show you. Ta-da! Look at this. Here's my magic wand. How amazing is this? Now, again, from the elephants, and we've been watching the elephants do this quite frequently over the last few months, how they will take their beautiful tusks that they are armed with, and they will score the tree. They score the tree like this. They loosen up all of this bark, and then with their trunks, they pull and they strip it. And what they're trying to do is they're not trying to eat this. This doesn't taste very good. They are after the cambium layer, which is inside and just underneath this really hard textured bark that we see on the outside. So they're going for the hard stuff in there. You can see it's a lovely, nice red color. Now, something I have told some of you before, but perhaps we've got some new viewers today who haven't watched, and it's your first time, or maybe you haven't watched for a while and you're confused as to even who I am. What they did back in the days of the settlers, which I found quite amazing, and how the locals managed to interact with all the different settlers, whether they were of Dutch descent or of English descent, is that they couldn't speak, obviously no one could speak English down here in Africa. Now, I was saying, they come through, they score the trees, and they use it to obviously get food. And what the settlers would use a marking like this for is for when they were indeed, unfortunately, hunting the animals. Now, we all know it's no big secret that when the settlers first started arriving, they obviously needed food. There were no cows around. There were not really any goats and things around. Of course, we had all the beautiful wildlife that they would hunt and eat. They were using it as food. Now, a big elephant could feed a village for a very, very long time. Now, unfortunately, with the trade was sought after. And I'm sure when everybody first saw these animals for the first time, they thought, my goodness, what are those big white things? We probably get a lot of money for that. They did start to hunt them, but they utilized lots, the whole entire elephant. Now, in order to find a really big elephant bull, we've seen them. You notice how their tusks grow down and out. So the longer they are, the lower down, like what we're seeing right here, they're going to score the tree. And that was amazing, because if you look at an elephant's footprint, it doesn't matter how big the elephant is, it's still going to have a relatively large footprint. But if you look at the scoring on the tree, that can give you a real indication if it's a large tusker or perhaps it's just a female. So the younger they are, if it's a female elephant and they don't have particularly big tusks, they'll score the tree up a little bit higher. And I thought that was quite fascinating, how the indigenous people would translate exactly what I just did in English without being able to speak English, and then being successful in finding some of the greatest tuskers. Now, we've got quite a wall of trees in front of us. As we can see, we need to pick a nice pathway that we can walk on. Right, but let's carry on. Let's go around. I think we're going to go this way. See, if you haven't ever seen the backpack that VM is wearing, it's rather large and it's got a big pokey aerial that sticks up. And it makes it quite difficult for VM, unfortunately, to walk around and through all the vegetation. So we've got to pick our path nicely that doesn't have any overhanging trees. And then we try not to trip and fall over everything that tries to jump out and bite us. See, VM's got something that's bitten his leg. It's just a stick. Right. Now, while we carry on and meander through this little terminalia forest that we found ourselves in, let's go back to Brent and see how his morning is going.
Now we're driving around quite slowly at the moment in the same area. I'm hoping to hear some alarm calls. I'm waiting for that big herd of buffalo to move through so I can go check on foot on the northern section of this block for Queen Karula and her cubs. And it's really great. They haven't been this far north in quite a long time. So hopefully it bodes well for the future that they're going to be spending a bit more time around Tayla. I did hear some elephants further to the west, so while we wait for those buffalo, I think let's head towards those elephants. And I feel like I've been letting you guys off easy over the last while, haven't been getting that grey matter working. So Brian, what do you think? Time for a quiz?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what should we quiz today, Brian? Birds, mammals, reptiles, fish?
Maybe start off with an impossible tree.
An impossible tree? What a fantastic idea! Now, let us search for said impossible tree. Now, the nice thing is the impossible tree quiz is relatively easy for us at the moment because all the trees look a little bit bedraggled and have new leaves. So, what would have been a normally not so impossible tree becomes an impossible tree. So, let us have a look. I'm going to let Brian choose the impossible tree, so I don't even know what tree it's going to be. So, Brian, in the next 100 meters, choose a tree.
Alright, here's one.
Oh yeah, Brian's got a tree. Where are we looking, Brian? Ooh, nice, Brian. Here we go. Let us go look at the impossible tree. Now, that impossible tree has obviously had some work done. And I obviously am not, of course, not referring to a plastic surgeon. I'm referring to our gardeners out here, which are the elephants. As we can see, this impossible tree used to be a much bigger impossible tree. You can see the base is actually probably around 30 centimeters, and the leaves are very, very new. So they're just popping through, and you can see, let's bring this little one back with us. Oh, wow, wow. Okay, I'm going to have to put it back because I didn't actually see that when I picked it. But now, I'll show you now. Let's just look at the leaf first. And there we go. Isn't that very pretty? You can see that nice new fuzz. Looks almost like fur on it as it is sprouting. Now, if I turn this, and I didn't see that till after I'd picked it, otherwise I wouldn't have picked this one. Oh, oh, oh. Don't stick to me. Can you see it, Brian? Underneath there. Let me just turn it a bit more. How's that? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just going to lean forward so I can look at the monitor. Wow, look at that. There's this tiny, tiny little spider. I think it's a crab spider, but it's so difficult to see. Now, isn't this an exciting opportunity to use one of my birthday presents from Jamie, Brian? Do you think we should try it? Let's see, maybe we can even get closer to it. But anyway, on the terms of that impossible tree, so the leaves are probably not quite what you would expect from that tree. So I need to just climb back in the car to find the little tool I'm looking at. I will put the spider back, don't worry, I'll make sure he's got a nice home. Oh look, that impossible tree's also got a gecko. What a giving impossible tree. And I'm pretty sure I did have the present from Jamie somewhere in my box of nonsense. And of course, once you start taking photographs and stuff, you seem to collect more and more things to carry about with you all the time. And that means when you are looking for something particular, it sometimes can be a little bit challenging, which it is proving to be right now. So I do apologize while I scuffle about in my box. The box is winning at the moment, but never fear, I have found what I was looking for. Oh, and a lilac-breasted roller feather. Let's just put it there because it's pretty. Hey, oh no, don't blow away. So, you never know what you find in a safari guide's box. So there we go, a very beautiful lilac-breasted roller feather. Okay, enough feathering about. Let's go back into the box with the feather and off with the case of itself. And Brian, may I have a cloth? Or actually, I think you gave me one this morning. You did. I just want to... It's back to winter. So many things. Ah, there we go. Thank you very much, Brian. So we just want to clean the lenses as we use a very cool birthday present that I got. I'm very excited about this. I haven't had a chance to use it too much because there haven't been too many hohos around. Now, hoho is a very South Africanism for a bug. So there we go. Let's see if we can, now let's just adjust. See if we can get even tighter than we did with the, oh, there we go, beautiful sunlight on it now. Okay. Oh no, this is quite, oh no, I'm blocking the sun. Can't be blocking the sun now, can we, Brian? Oh, I think we're going to have to, though. And now, hopefully, we're going to be able to... Oh, I don't know. Am I doing this right? Oh, I'm definitely going to have to practice with this. Okay, let's have a look. What I might do is try to do it while... Yes, no, I think we're going to have to redo this. I'm going to have a photo shoot, but remember, hashtag Safari Live if you know the nearly impossible tree. But while we figure out what spider is in the leaves of the nearly impossible tree, let's go back to Jamie, who's with the incredible Nkuhumas.
The incredible Nkuhumas indeed. These poor females are such amazing mothers. This one is suckling 2 cubs whilst standing up. So just imagine how uncomfortable that is for her, with the 2 of them actually scrapping with each other and fighting with each other. And she's up because she's heard noises in the distance, so she stood up to keep watch over the entire pride, make sure that there's nothing serious or dangerous on its way. I think she probably heard that jackal moving about, and she's just not quite sure what it is. In the meantime, the cubs just refuse to give her any rest and are now dangling from the poor thing's nipples. I mean, that is so incredible. It must be... Oh! Woof. And fighting with each other at the same time. With those sharp teeth and those sharp little claws. In the meantime, the poor other female has got the roundest belly in the world and 2 cubs attached as well, 2 of the larger cubs. She can't quite find a comfortable position to rest her back leg. I guess the cub will do. She was also suckling standing up a moment ago. These animals really truly are incredible. And lots of tantrums happening between the cubs. Competition for access to milk is now at its highest point. But for now, everybody seems to have found their place. Oh, girl, don't you think it would be easier if you lay down? That really doesn't look comfortable. No, there is something. There's something that these lionesses have heard. I don't know what it is. You can see they're on alert. Now, they don't need to feel threatened by anything like a hyena, for example, because they've got, first of all, safety in numbers. There's 4 large lionesses. The youngest is missing. There's also one Birmingham boy. There we go. Relaxed a little bit. Now, even with their full bellies, if something were to stumble across the scene, it is not impossible that they would attempt to initiate a hunting effort, even as well fed as they are. Especially because the males probably, although I must say they all look full, but the male probably did get the lion's share of this food. I think the reason that the lionesses look as full as they do, it's just supposition at this point, but I think that Birmingham boy was distracted with other things on his mind. Yesterday when I was with the Nkuhumas, Birmingham boy number 3, or Mo as he is sometimes referred to as, he was the one courting the youngest lioness. With Samson sitting in the distance keeping an eye on the whole deal. Now, things have switched around, and the youngest lioness is missing, and so is the Birmingham male with the large injury on the right-hand side of his face. I think he won a fight, because apparently, according to Alec, he was the one that was actually instrumental in bringing the buffalo down. I think that's one of the big reasons why the lionesses have lucked out with this particular meal and managed to look as full as they do. I think the males were involved in a little bit of a skirmish last night. Distraction. Now, Nicole in Canada, it's hard to believe that this kill was made last night, isn't it? I mean, this buffalo is now almost completely gone. Oh, shame. They are relentless. Sorry, just listen to the sounds. It's one of my favorite sounds in the world. Okay, quiet again. Sorry, I didn't want to talk over all of that interesting vocalization. And apparently the lions don't want me to talk at all, which is fair enough. Right, sorry Nicole. To get back to your question, you wanted to know if they would go for a healthy buffalo or a skinny buffalo. Now, generally predators will go for a weak sort of member of the herd, one that looks slower. And generally though, it's not really so much about whether they're skinny or fat, it's whether they're fast or slow, or weak or strong. So the skinny ones are most likely to be the slowest. They won't not be able to keep up with the herd. But that's not always the case. We've seen the Nkuhumas go for massive male buffalo in prime condition and still bring them down. So it's more about whichever individual they just happen to separate and catch. There's no set plan, although I think there is a degree of planning with the lionesses. There isn't a set plan where one lioness points to a buffalo and goes, that one, we're getting that one, or where all of members of the pride know that they're going for that really skinny looking one at the back. They just go. They chase, they hunt, and as soon as one spits away, then they know which ones to target. Now, it's not necessarily about going for the weakest member, or the weakest member of the herd. They just often happen to be prime targets because they're slower. Do you, little one? You got the sulks now, because you not getting any milk. I don't suggest you take it out on Amber Eyes. I'm imagining things. I don't think I'm imagining things. Sorry, back to Amber Eyes, talking about her. I think she's pregnant. I think Brent is absolutely right. You can't from the camera's angle see her nipples, but I think they are looking more prominent. I mean, look, she's so full of food, it's impossible to tell at the moment if she's got a pregnancy bulge, but I think she is. I think she must be. She's been mating repeatedly with the males. Yay, everybody. More little cubs to look forward to. I don't know how we're going to keep up. We're going to have to put 2 cameras on the back of every vehicle just to keep track of them all.
Brent coming, Brent coming. Coming by yours.
Apparently, Kirsty passed on the message that I said that I think Brent is right about amber eyes, to which he responded, of course I am. Fair enough, I suppose. I wasn't really disagreeing with him. I'm questioning him. Is this cub sitting on the elephant dung, or is it... No, it's relieving itself on the elephant dung. I suppose it keeps a little extra height will stop any accidental contact. Ooh, no, gross. Let's have a look at the male line. He's looking resplendent in the morning sunlight. A little bit away from the rest of the cubs with his split lip. Flop. Exhausted. I think it's been a long evening of trying to get hold of a female. Oh, look at this little cub. Okay, we can look back at the cub now. I think it's been a long evening of dodging cubs' attentions and attempting to attract the attentions of the youngest female. So James Richards, you wanted to know at what age will the male start treating the lion's cubs as the same way that they do the lionesses? In a way, almost never, because the lionesses are not directly related to the Birmingham boys. They are the mothers of their cubs, but they do not share their genetic line, whereas the cubs do. So you might find there'll always be an extra degree of tolerance. However, things change, of course, when lions reach sexual maturity. That applies to females and males. For the male cubs, it will be time to leave home. The males are not necessarily majorly aggressive with them, but they do make it clear that they no longer have a place, and often because young male lions will attempt to mate with their mothers or their sisters, the larger, more dominant males will often put them in their place. The female cubs, once they reach sexual maturity, if the Birmingham boys would still be in control, which is unlikely but possible, then they would absolutely mate with them. So they're not governed by the same morality code that human beings might be, and that's one of the reasons why takeovers happen, is to keep the genetic line fresh, to stop males mating. Bless you. Oh, I'm sorry, Amber Eyes. Did you get something up your nose? I love the way the cub looked at her so curiously. So yes, one of the reasons why takeovers happen is to stop the males mating with their daughters, or sons mating with their mothers, and so on. Lion genetics are actually quite resilient to inbreeding. It takes a few generations before you get any kind of negative side effects, which means it does happen in the wild on a relatively regular basis. Oh, seizing the opportunity. Somebody's down. Can I get some milk? Yes, I can. You'll be on your toes if you're a lion cub at the moment. Oh, here comes the second one in. Seeing the opportunity. The oldest cubs, who are almost completely weaned at the back, are not interested in anything. They are full to bursting and just focused purely on digesting. They're positively exhausted. Oh, maybe a quick clean might help. A quick nibble. And thus, peace has descended upon the Nkuhumas. Everybody's found their spots, and sleep is taking most of the members of the pride. And all the while, the male framed with the most incredible light. It's so beautiful. Let's have one last look at that. Look at that. Doesn't he just look the picture of dignity? Beautiful. Okay, since all is relaxed here with the Nkuhumas and the Birmingham boy, let's head back across to Brent and see how his search for the Queen is going.
We've put the search for the Queen on hold. I just got a report of wild dogs crossing into Djuma, and now I've got their tracks here, and we've seen a tawny eagle and a vulture in a tree, so there's a really strong possibility they might have made a kill. And I'm just saying the tracks went into the block to the west of us, and I can see another vulture. Can't smell the wild dogs yet, and that's one of the incredible things. You can actually smell where wild dogs have been. Very exciting. Now, for those of you who might be new, wild dogs are my favorite animal, and I tend to get about as excited as they do. And we've still got tracks here. So there's a vulture there. Let's just switch off and listen for a second. I'm going to get you a view of the vulture. He could, of course, just be sitting where he slept last night. Now, what we're listening for is very high-pitched twittering, is I suppose the best description of it, that noise wild dogs make when they make a kill. No noise, and wild dogs move incredibly quickly, so often we just miss them as they cross through this top northwestern corner of Djuma. The killer bees could do with some wild dogs this morning. It might wake up the sleepy thumb. See, 2 more vultures. Okay, come on, doggies. And a tawny eagle. Now, a tawny eagle is one of the best signs, because they... Oh no, that's the vulture. Where'd the eagle go? Doesn't matter, let's keep looking. Sorry, Brian. I think the eagle went the other way. But, so, a tawny eagle is always a great one, because they're often very quick onto a kill, especially with dogs. And the first to arrive along normally with the bateleur, and then the bigger vulture species will often follow them. And as soon as they see a tawny or a bateleur dropping, the whitebacks and the other vultures will plummet down to join. Oh, everything's happening here with birds. You see them, Brian? In this little silver cluster leaf in the center there. There's a little... We'll take this opportunity to listen again. But who's that? A pearl spotted or a barred? Oh, I can't see. Pearl spotted. No? Beautiful little owl. Look at that yellow eye. Yes, pearl spotted, and see the spots on his head. Hi, little guy. Did you see any wild dogs this morning? Thanks, little owl. Oh, let me just wait a second while that light's in its eye. It's so pretty. So many things to look at out here in the African bush. So many choices to make. Fly away so I don't feel bad leaving you. Okay, we have to leave you now. Thank you, Owlet. Wild dogs to find. Oh, now it flies away, but I still feel guilty. Now, Bill is wondering, why do dogs smell so bad? Well, I don't think they smell bad. I think they smell of excitement. He says, yes, excitement. It's sort of a really musty, wet dog type odor. and it's also from the fact that they do quite a lot of scent marking, and having a strong odor if you need to scent mark your territory is not a bad thing. So it's not an unpleasant smell at all, not like a flatulent lion, which is a very unpleasant smell, but all the animals actually out here, all the predators in particular, they all do smell. I mean, if you had to get close up to a lion, it literally smells like a rotting carcass. And we are not even talking about its breath or its bottom. Okay. Now, we're hoping not to find tracks. We're hoping that they're in here somewhere. That is hyena. So while I focus on trying to find us some painted wolves, let's go back to Tayla and see how her morning's progressing.
You won't believe what I've been searching hard and far and wide for are some termites. Now, we did come across some a bit of a way back, and then we ended up moving off. I got very excited, hoping that Brent was going to find those wild dogs. Now, I'm going to teach you about some of my strategies on how to find insects in the bush, since I've been doing it for quite a while. Now, this bit of elephant dung would have just been sitting just like this, as you can see it. Now, then you have to turn them over, and it is the best thing, especially if you get a bit of dung that's been sitting here for quite some time, and you can see all the sand. See that? Now that is the development of the harvester termites. It's quite a small species of termite. You get a variety of different subspecies as well. And they were living in there. Now, I don't want to do too much damage. I'm just going to have a little dig. But it seems as though they've already moved away. Normally when you pull the dung over, there are lots of different things. However, we've got some ants. Now, I don't know if you can see all these ants. Can you see all this one's carrying something? Can you see that one over there? Look at them. They've obviously gone out on a scavenge, I suppose. They're very tiny little ants. I'm not 100% sure which species they are. They could be safari ants. They've got a slight red tinge to that black. And what I find amazing is that ants, how strong they are, how they're able to carry things that are often almost weigh the same amount as that they do. Amazing. Now I'm wondering where their nest is, because they're all walking in exactly the same direction. They've all picked up some goodies from the leaf litter over here. They've come from this leaf litter, and they're actually extending all the way down there, so they can travel quite far distances. And they're coming along here. Let's see where that nest is. Here we go. Look at this. Oh, it's actually carrying a termite. Look at that. Can you see that? See how that little ant is carrying an entire termite. Isn't that phenomenal? So that's obviously where our termites have gone, I'm afraid, is the ants have eaten them all. And we see that quite often. Now, obviously, with the relation of the ant size, it's quite tiny. It's probably not even quite a millimeter long. They have to go and look out and hunt for things relatively small. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about the Matabele ants. And we used to see them quite a lot. You see them sort of north of South Africa. I haven't really found too many places that have got Matabele ants down here. Now they're big black ants. Let's use my stick. They're probably about that big. So the entire width from where my thumb is, as you can see, they're about that big. Massive, really big black. They look like they've got big armor plating on them. And they're incredible how they go out on a patrol. Literally soldier like. You see them and you can hear. Can we have a trumpet, please, Liam? You probably hear something like that. Well, that's always the music that comes to my head when I see the Matabele ants on a patrol. Now, remember I was telling you that there's a variety of different harvester termites. You also get some harvester termites which are not as common. We don't see them all the time around here. But in Zambia, I saw them a lot, where they're almost the same size as the Matabele ants. And you see them on the ground, very easy to identify their little mounds. They make them mounds below the surface. They don't have a big rise. You often find little bits of cut grass lay it all on the outside, and that's what they do. They go out, collect the grass, deposit it around the hole, and then the workers just start dragging it down and carrying on. Now, that's what those matabele ants are looking for. Quite like the little formation that we saw in a line, but imagine of that size, and you'll see hundreds together, all walking, and there'll be one in the front that will go off and is sort of the searcher, and actually goes around, checks all the different areas, and once that searcher has found an active harvester mound, races back. As it's racing, leaving a pheromone trail, and then informs the ants that are in front of the group, and then the soldiers go. Then you see them pick up the pace, and what was quite amazing is you could blow on them, or if you stood too close on them, they'd hiss at you, which sounds bizarre. I wish I could show you something like this, but they actually hiss, and you'd honestly have to stop and wait a few minutes if you saw them crossing the road, because you couldn't drive over the top of them. You'd wait for the raiding party to carry on moving, and off they'd go. And it would only be a matter of minutes before they completely wipe out an entire harvester termite mound. And I think that's pretty much what's happened here, as we saw that ant carrying back a little termite which has disappeared. And I'm trying to work out, let's move along just a little bit here, because I can see the ants. Possibly their nest is around here. See, there seems to be a little congregation somewhere in here. I think that they've got a little bit of a sand mound. Obviously the ants make their mounds going under the ground here in South Africa, but you can see this sort of soil here. Perhaps there's a little mound just below the surface of the earth. But wasn't that incredible? Yeah, see, they're dropping off here, somewhere around here, and then they're all going back again in search of some more termites. Fantastic. Well, we're going to carry on, and I'm going to see if I can find you maybe some large fungus growing termites. And while I search all the termite mounds on Djuma, let's go to Jamie, who's got the slyest creature.
There we go, finally a view of our sneaky side-striped jackal with a very skinny looking tail. I wonder what happened to this particular jackal, that it's lost the fluff off the end of its tail. Perhaps a lucky escape maybe, or maybe just an encounter with another jackal. So there we go. The jackal, I know that many of you absolutely love seeing them. I love seeing them. I wish we could see them more and spend more time with them. One very brave little jackal hanging out at the outskirts of this particular spot. Waiting, just waiting. Trotting round tirelessly, waiting for the opportunity to sneak in and steal a scrap or two. I've lost it completely. I don't even know where it is in real life. I could see it in my monitor. James Richard, you're wondering, do black-backed jackal tend to be bolder than the side-striped? I'm not 100% sure. I think it very much depends on the situation and where you happen to be in South Africa. So my tendency is to agree and say yes, but that's because in the areas that I have worked, most of the time the black-backed jackal have been far more common and far more regularly seen than the side-striped. I don't necessarily think that there's a major difference between the characters of the two different species. There's a slight difference in diet. Oh, that's where it is. I see. It's been spotted by the lioness, feeding off the carcass, but she's not too worried. I think they are relatively comfortable in each other's presence. She knows that there's no point to dashing off after it. As I said, there is a slight difference in diet between the side-striped and the black-backed. The side-striped being slightly more omnivorous in certain areas, but that is so dependent on the ecosystem that we're talking about. Though that might not even apply to the jackal of the Sabi Sand. You'd have to do some serious research to clarify that properly. Hello, little one. Seems to have a set distance. One of the things I've been dying to show you all is this jackal lopes around almost behind. Oh, look, this is awesome. This is really cool. I know it's right behind the vehicle. It's okay, buddy. It's alright, don't be scared. Wonderful. Shame. That tail looks ridiculous. Maybe it's just covered in muck, because it does seem to still have hair in it. I'm going to try and have eyes in the back of my head here. I'm so Gendre. To try and see where this jackal has... Oh, there we go. Awesome. Now, one of the things that I've been dying to show everybody, of course, is jackal pups, because they are one of the cutest of the baby creatures. Oh, yuck. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, you wanted to know how opportunistic jackals are. Nothing like a little runny lion scat to start off your breakfast in the morning, especially because lions' digestive systems, when they first have a meal, work very, very quickly, which means that not all of the food is absorbed and digested. Oh, no. Oh, well, I suppose breakfast is... anything will do. Ooh. Those of you who've ever smelt lion scat will know just how truly revolting this is. I was talking about jackal pups. I'm going to try and continue to talk about jackal pups. Dina, you wanted to know when we could see them. This time of year would be perfect. They do give birth at any time of the year, but there's usually a peak season around the rainy season, because remember, jackal, whereas with most predators, the dry season is probably the best season for them, in that the animals are concentrated around waterholes. Bear in mind that jackal will often feed off insects, and there are far more insects. It will make up a bulk of their diet, or a large percentage of their diet, along with the lion scat. So for them, summertime is a boon, because there's lots more insect activity and a lot more rodent activity, reptiles, amphibians, some of the smaller things that jackal will feed upon. I'm so torn here because this is quite unpleasant to witness, but of course it is nature, being nature. But we hardly ever get to see jackal. Interesting insight into their behavior. Now, Calvin, while we watch our jackal munch away at its breakfast, you wanted to know, because obviously they do look very fox-like, you want to know if they come from the fox line. Yes, essentially they do. They fill the same ecological niche as foxes in many countries, and similar to coyotes as well, and they are very much a part of the Canidae family. So they are dogs. They come from the dog family. Very, very closely related. I hope that you all feel particularly hungry after that scene. Now, Jess, in Texas, I'm afraid our jackal has disappeared from view for now, but while we wait for it to pop out again, now that it's finished its breakfast, you wanted to know, can we explain the difference between wild dogs, jackal, and hyena? So very importantly, wild dogs and jackal fall under the same family heading. They are canids, they're dogs, essentially. The biggest difference, of course, will be with their behavior. Oh, come on, little jackal, just a little bit further. It's going to pop out again. So the biggest difference is jackal live in monogamous pairs, sometimes in small family groups. There we go, or for trots. So jackal live in small family groups with the offspring helping to raise the next set of offspring. Wild dogs live in packs, and they're probably about double the size, at least in height, of a jackal. Wild dogs are not particularly heavy creatures. They're quite light and thin, which of course is one of the big reasons behind their incredible athleticism. But similar approach in that they are, well, no, actually, I was going to say they are stamina-driven, but jackal are more opportunistic than the wild dog that are constantly hunting. Our hyenas are something completely different. They fall under the Hyenidae family, so they are not cats and they are not dogs. They are an entirely separate group, and they are sort of mainly unified, by their incredibly strong jaws. The reason I say mainly is because, of course, the aardwolf is the one member of that family that is debated hotly with ecologists because it doesn't have that powerful jaw. If we were to go back far enough in terms of evolution, it seems as though hyenas are more closely related to cats than they are to dogs. My dear, you need to floss your teeth when you're done with this meal. You've got a little something there. Just to the bottom, almost. Just between your teeth. I don't think she's terribly bothered. Not quite the equivalent of having a little bit of spinach in your teeth if you're a lion. So hyenas are something completely different, and then of course we've got the cat family and the Panthera genus, which includes our lions and our leopards. All different in terms of social structure, all have a totally different approach. The big differences with hyenas, of course, again, it's species dependent. With the spotted hyenas, the females are bigger. I don't know how to tell you this, my dear, but you've still got something in your teeth. Brown hyenas adopt an approach quite similar to jackal in their family structures, usually monogamous and often in little family groups with offspring sticking around to help the parents. All the appetizing images this morning. Lionesses definitely is very good at continuing to feed, even to the point of bursting, particularly the mothers that are still, first of all, not getting as much rest as the other two lionesses because they've got constant niggling cubs, and also still providing a little bit of milk for them. Oh, look at that. Exhausted. It has been such a tiring evening and morning. Now it's time for everybody to have a really thorough snooze. Oh. They're massive, massive bellies. Now, Marsha in Oklahoma, you were wondering what would happen if baboons came through, because of course we had that amazing scene with Tundi and the baboons just a few days ago, and I'm actually really glad that you raised that, because I wanted to point it out. I said I would try and give you an update as to the survival of Tundi's cubs. I'll go back into the backstory in a moment, and I'll answer Marsha's question in a moment. Tundi's cubs are fine, by the way. I did say I'd let you know, and the news had spread before I even had a chance to get across to social media, so both Tundi's cubs are absolutely fine. I have to tell you that leopardess is such a hero in my mind. The way we watched it again in slow motion, and we zoomed right in to that whole scenario playing out and watched it in super, super slow motion. That baboon came so close to getting Tundi's cub. It was stopped by some logs and then distracted by Tundi, who did this amazing job of leading the male. She was, if you look at her, watching it once again, because of course it all happened so fast, watching it once again, you can actually see how she's holding back while she's running. She's not running full speed. She's holding back just to keep the interest of the baboon, to draw him away from her cubs, to make sure that she is the biggest threat to him and that he doesn't get distracted by the little cubs running away. So she did the most amazing job. The lions in this scenario would not have that trouble. So a big male baboon is a serious, serious threat to leopard cubs and a serious threat to a female leopard. Just because a female leopard weighs about 45 kilograms, a big male baboon is unbelievably powerful. He'll still weigh less, but they've got canines the size of lions' canines, and they are phenomenally dangerous. For the lions, that is not a threat to them at all. No baboon troop would even think about hassling this group of lions, because they know it would be a lost battle. The lionesses would catch them unless they went up in a tree, in which case they would still be trapped in a tree. The lions probably wouldn't be able to master the tree climbing skills necessary to go after them, but they might try. Baboons are not in any way a threat to a lion pride. In fact, if they were to see them, they'd probably dash off to a safe distance and start to alarm call. And that would be that. So an entirely different scenario. Bearing in mind, Tundi, compared to these lionesses, they are probably 3 times her weight, if not more. What's 3 times 45? Oh, there must be about, it's 140, 180. Yeah, not quite, but nearly 3 times her size. No, it can't be. It must be 135. 3 times 45?
3, sorry.
Yeah, 3 times 45, okay. I thought I was going crazy. 135. Yay, maths. Since all is settled down here and we've just got one lioness still feeding, let's head across to Brent, see how his search for the wild dogs is going.
I blame the pearl-spotted owlet. They crossed into Sibambili before we could catch them. It's the owl's fault. We won't take any blame, will we, Brian? It's never the killer bee's fault.
No, never.
The killer bees are infallible. Oh, look, some kudu. But we're going to go, I'm pretty sure that big herd of buffalo has now moved out of the area where the last tracks were. So Brian and I are going to head back down there, and I'm going to take a little trundle through the bush to see if we can find her. There's a nice group of female kudu and sub-adults. Oh, little hop and a skip in the back corner over the branch there. Enjoying the lovely new flush. Now, I wonder if anyone has got Brian's nearly impossible tree so far, because Brian chose it. If it was difficult, you can't blame me, you have to blame Brian. Ooh! Brian, I think you chose a good one. So far, no correct answers. Round leaf teak, it is not. It has been fed on by elephants though, but that doesn't mean it's a teak. And an apple leaf, also not an apple leaf. So very good tree chosen there by Brian to keep you guessing. Okay, let's leave this area where the wild dogs flew through and head back towards the east to where we hope Karula is sitting pretty with a large impala in a tree. One has to hope. Now, we had that one track of her crossing to the north, but what's that over there, Brian? Oh no, I think but the one track crossing to the north, but there were no cub tracks with it, which means it's very possible that that was where she was meandering, and I think those tracks look like they were from earlier last night. So come on, Queen Karula, please be in that block. Ephraim, I have great news, Ephraim's coming to give me a hand look, so we will not be solo searching. And the buffalo have passed through there, I'm sure. The only problem is when a big herd of buffalo passes through an area and you've got to go walk through it afterwards, they occasionally leave the odd dugger boy waiting behind a bush. Fortunately, it is still quite open at the moment, so I should spot them at a distance. And what have I spotted at a distance over there? Aha! Something I don't think we've had on the sunrise safari just yet, so let's go have a look. Now, it's big, it's grey, it has been known to trumpet occasionally. And how it got its long nose is featured in Rudyard Kipling's Just So Stories. I'm pretty sure everyone's worked out what I spotted. Now in a bit of a thicket, but we'll have a look if they do give us a nice gap. I think that's the only gap. Say when, Brian? Here we go. Not the best, but always nice to know they're out and about. And of course, the African bush is littered with spiky things, and Marsha's wondering, do they ever step on thorns? They do, Marsha, but most of the time, the thorns break under their padded feet. sorry, Marsha, I just saw two drongos attacking each other, but they separated quickly. So the actual thing that more gives elephants a problem if they step on it is rather a spine or a stump than a thorn. So a broken piece of log that's quite sharp. Hello. You coming to say hello, little boy? A nice little bull. Oh, well, Brian, on this fallen tree in front of us. There. Just, oh, it's flapping around in there. But if it pops out to a little bit to the left, you can see there's the tail. If it pops out into, oh, it's gone now, into the open, it's a very, very pretty bird called a green wood hoopoo. And if we manage to catch it with the sun on it, is it a green wood hoopoo? Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's a common scimitar bull. I apologize. Woof. Naughty Brent. That was very amateurish birding. Oh, off it goes. Nevertheless, a pretty bird. There he is, using that incredible rapier. Not rapier, scimitar bull, like scimitar. Sorry, incredible. He's out in the open in the sun. Oh, and there he flies. There he goes. So, an incredible beak that is shaped like a scimitar to pry under the bark and into holes, looking for any delectable little worms or grubs or insects to eat. Unfortunately, those elephants are moving deeper into the bush, and we've got a female leopard to find. Oh, very pretty. Now, the scimitar bull will very seldom be seen. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen them in a flock. Normally, the most you see is two. Where there is the wood hoopoos, you will see sometimes up to 10 or 11 in a group. Okay. Let us go find Queen Karules. Now, we are incredibly lucky that we get to spend as much time as we do with every single animal, from the tiny bugs through to the big elephants. Now, while we make our way towards the last tracks of Queen Karula, let's go see how Tayla is faring on foot.
Now, we've been searching from termite mound to termite mound in hope to find some termites, of course. That's what you normally find in termite mounds. However, those pesky yellow hornbills seem to have gotten to most of them. Now, something that I am looking for, if you come down over here, can you see how the soil over here does not look like the soil over there? That has obviously been baking in the sun for quite some time. We have a termite. Hallelujah. Can you see the one little termite there? Thank goodness. Thank you, harvester termite. Whew, isn't that a relief off of my shoulders? Because I was getting a bit nervous that we weren't going to find any termites out of all these termite mounds. Now, that's what we were looking for, and that's what those little ants were carrying as well a few moments ago. Now, like I was saying, we're checking all these areas, like exactly what's happened here, this newly built chimney, and I was saying that the hornbills, because it's a lot softer, you can see that I can break it quite easily. Just crumbles away, hasn't baked a lot long enough in the sun. Those hornbills work this out as well, and then those hornbills will peck away with those beautiful big beaks that they have, and then fish away. I can actually even hear some mocking me in the distance. How dare you? Probably laughing, saying we got there first. Now, they'll eat any termites. They'll eat these small ones, and of course they love to eat those the fungus growing termites, which I'm still looking for. Now, we see a lot of these little tunnels. See this over here? These very, very little temporary ones. Not quite a big mound just yet. And normally we see them, all the different species of termites, creating these very small, very thin layers of sand over bits of vegetation. Now, I know you've heard this before, but the termites have a very, very sensitive exoskeleton. So the harsh African sun that is shining down on me, it's no good for them, unfortunately, and that's why they come out at night, and their mainly work is to avoid the heat of the day. But at night, while they're looking around and foraging and bringing back all sorts of organic matter back to the mound, they'll also create these little temporary structures, and that allows them then to work during the day. Quite like we saw that soldier that was out, even though that little termite that we saw was so small. Let's see if we can see him again. I think he could have gone back in. But obviously from me touching and feeling the mound, there was a bit of vibrations coming through. He is. See, there's a soldier. And he's come out to investigate and see what's causing all of the vibrations and the nonsense out here. And I'm sure my voice is rumbling down into the chimneys. And just checking, but worked out that there's nothing here. We're not eating anything. We're just having a look, and I was touching it. And eventually he's going to go back in and go and tell the rest of the workers and the soldiers and the queen that there is no threat whatsoever. It's just Tayla McCurdy digging away, causing havoc. Now, I want to go and find another big termite mound. Let's see. Let's go this way. So, as we make our way towards the big termite mounds in search of a large fungus growing termite mound, I have to say thanks to, I keep touching my mic. I'm sure you've seen I love to talk with my hands. I've been mocked my entire life because I talk so much with my hands. That's why I've got a stick. And I just wanted to say thanks, Jeffrey, for the compliment, saying that I look like I'm enjoying this and I'm doing well. Thank you very much. It's good to know. And yes, of course, I absolutely will go this way just to make it easier for VM Shame, because I don't want him to get tangled up in all the trees. I absolutely love being down on the ground. I think that there's so much more that you can see, and when you've got amazing mentors like Brent, like Jamie, like Steph, like James, you know, when you get an opportunity to go for a walk with all of them, I can't tell you the wealth of knowledge that they share with me. So that's what I'm very excited about. I love driving. Obviously we get to get close with the different animals. On foot you can't get as close, and we don't want to get close. But to be able to, instead of having to jump in and out of a vehicle the entire time, I'm here. I can kick over a bit of elephant dung, look for termites, look for spiders, and I'm excited as well as the weather gets hotter and hotter. Hopefully we're going to see some activity from the reptiles. I'd like to try and find some snakes. Now, you can see that this termite mound is closed. It's not open for business at the moment. No big chimneys. Doesn't even look very active anymore. I don't think it is. I think the top part of the mound, I don't think it's really, like I said, open for business, and I think that they are working below the surface of the earth. Now, I'm sure most of you may remember that a termite mound is very much like, well, in this case, the large fungus growing termite mounds are very much like icebergs. Is that 1/3 is only above the surface and 2/3 is actually all the way below the surface of the earth. Quite incredible. Right, we need to go find our next termite mound. VM, which termite mound do you think we should go to next? That one. Let's go to that one. We'd be zigzagging, which is quite effective because it means that we are able to cover quite a bit of ground. Ooh, hang on, let's have a look here. I've got ants. We haven't got termites, and of course ants and termites are in no way related. Have a look at them. They're working again. Oh, here's the looks like the mound from the ants. Look at this big one that's coming through here. Now, what are you? That looks like a soldier. I don't know if you can see, it's going under the leaves. There it comes out there. These look like exactly the same ants that we saw before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are safari ants. So safari ants are quite amazing. They're the ones, there comes another one. They are the ones that will often come through your kitchen if you live in South Africa or Africa, and they'll clean up all the cockroaches and flies and things that perhaps have died and are lurking in the corners. Or if you drop a bit of breadcrumbs, don't worry, the safari ants will take care of that. Now, this is quite interesting because I thought that the soldiers weren't this big, but it seems as though we've been actually watching the workers running up and down, and perhaps these big soldiers went out before to go and survey and maybe find a mound of whatever they may be looking for. They're carrying all sorts of goodies. Look at this one. This one looks like it's got eggs or something in it. I don't know what it's carrying. There's another one. Maybe they had a mound that was raided, and perhaps they're trying to relocate, because it does look like they're carrying eggs, doesn't it? Isn't that incredible? racing up and down here. Now, the termites haven't been on form this morning. However, the ants are doing a fantastic job. They're very much like bees in the terms that they have the caste system where they have kings, queens, workers and soldiers all living. Oh, try and follow them. Let's try and track ants. They don't really leave too much of a footprint, especially on the sand vegetation. Let's see where they are coming from or where they're going to. We can see them moving along here, racing along. Right, now I've got to look carefully because they're quite small, as you saw. Coming over here, you can see here's a bit of a line forming. They go down underneath the leaves. Oh, hang on, and then they do a loop. Look at this. You see they're coming through here. And here's some of those temporary structures that I was telling you about that the termites make. You can see all of that. This has been obviously trodden on by maybe an elephant. Look at that. Oh my goodness, look at the ant pathway. Can you see? Oh, now they've scattered a bit. You can see there's a bit of a frenzy. But can you see that they're actually walking on their own pathway? So not only do elephants, do we have roads and pathways and big hippo pathways, you name it, even something as small as an ant has its own pathway. Isn't that quite amazing? I'm going to move away from them. I know it seems silly because they just are ants, but we did disturb them slightly. I think they thought that maybe Vian's camera was perhaps a bird or something coming down on top of them, and they wah! And frenzied and ran away. So we'll let them get back into line again. And don't worry, James Richard, I'm going to come back. I'm going to think of my favorite story that I've ever had on a bushwalk. And while I think of that, let's go back to Jamie with those adorable Nkuhuma cubs.
Adorable indeed, although thoroughly dirty after their evening/morning spent rolling about in buffalo carcass. They are a little bit grubby, and one of them, despite... that jackal was getting closer, but he's just dashed away because the lioness scared him. Well, something I've been thinking about while I've been watching this lion is the obsessive way that they cover their scat and the stomach contents, and they do it, despite the fact that there's probably not much out here that's a threat to these lions at the moment. And also the rotting smell of the buffalo carcass I would have thought would travel almost as far as the stomach content smell. It is just interesting, that cat-like instinct to cover up their mess, essentially. I find it fascinating. And it's almost obsessive. This lioness has been doing this for the last 5 minutes, just constantly digging to cover up whatever waste material is around there. And the explanation, of course, is to cover up the scent, but beyond that, I don't really have an explanation as to why the need to continually do it. I'm sure some of you perhaps have house cats that do it as obsessively, maybe. Mine at home would just bury whatever she happened to produce. Oh, hello, where on earth did you come from? Oh, hey, you know what? I found the young lioness and the second male. Well, that's embarrassing. Look who's there. The second Birmingham boy and the young lioness that he's been keeping company. Surprise, surprise, who would have guessed it? I don't have an excuse, actually, except that I've been so distracted by the cubs I forgot to look left, which just goes to show if you look to the right, you will see nothing on your left. I'm a little bit embarrassed now. I cannot believe I didn't spot 2 lions lying 50 meters away from me. That is tragic. I blame the cubs. They're too cute this morning, and I got distracted. Yes, it's all your fault. You really don't care. Sure, well, since our cubs are all relaxed and not too much is happening here, and the jackal's been chased off, shall we go and have a look at the young lioness and her friend? See how his face is doing, perhaps. I'm curious to see how the healing process is going. Yesterday when I saw him, it's still looking... It looks... I wouldn't actually say it looks much better. It doesn't look much worse either. I think it's just going to take him a really long time to heal from that particular injury, especially because it's so close to the sinuses. I still think he's going to be absolutely fine though, really. The resilience of these animals is phenomenal. Hello, boy. I'd like to say where have you been hiding, but I guess I know now. They might not have been there the whole time. I'm just saying, they might not have been there the whole time. They might have moved in. Maybe. Possibly. Chandra didn't see them either. Oh, sorry, Chandra. I didn't actually mean to put you into the tree for laughing at me. With me. Okay, with me. Hello, boy. This particular Birmingham boy, I feel, always requires slightly more space. Particularly when he's guarding females. I've just noticed he's not aggressive. He just prefers to have a little bit more personal space. Otherwise his tail starts to thrash. He starts getting a little bit angsty and upset. I think he's particularly protective over the females that he's managed to get. And probably with his face like that, he's probably feeling extra specially sensitive. He's still swollen, still sore, obviously presenting us with the wrong side at the moment, and I'm not going to I'm not going to bother them by driving all the way around to check out the other side. We'll just wait patiently for the opportunity to examine his injury. He looks in perfectly good condition. He's eaten, and apparently, according to Alec, who witnessed this buffalo hunt, he was actually responsible for bringing that buffalo down. Well, no wonder there's hardly anything left with this many lions and two males. It's actually no surprise that there's nothing. I'm impressed at how full their bellies are, actually, because that's a lot of hungry lions to feed. 5 females, 8 cubs and 2 males. Bearing in mind that a lion can eat roughly 5% of their body weight in one go. It's a lot of meat. Oh, the honeymoon couple. Oh, now the cubs have gone up to the male on the other side. Not the most fantastic view, but the cubs have all just gone up to approach the male. Oh. Half yawn. A very tolerant, patient dad. And Ryan, while we're looking at the little cubs and their dad, he wants to know how often a female will have cubs. Roughly every 2 to 2.5 years is the average, but I'm saying that if that were to be in an ideal situation. So what does happen is generally a female will have her cubs, and she'll come into estrus towards the end of about 1.5 years, when the cubs are about 1.5 years old. She'll start to mate, but her first few estrus cycles, her first few mating cycles probably won't be successful, and then she'll fall pregnant again. But that will change, that average will change, because generally male lions are not in power for more than 2 years. In other words, not dominant over pride for much more than 2 years. It differs, and it depends on what's happening, on circumstances outside of the lion pride themselves. But that's the general situation, and it's to prevent the males from mating with their daughters. So what will happen if, let's say, at the end of 2 years, the lionesses come back into estrus again, and the Birmingham boys lose power, so younger males come in and take over. The females will go into a series of false estruses before they do actually go into a true estrus or a true heat cycle to fall pregnant, because they want to, their bodies, it's amazing how evolution has worked. I mean, they don't do this consciously, but their bodies, they don't want to waste the resources on falling pregnant. When males that in their first 6 months that have just taken over, there's a good chance they could be dispersed as well. So there's no point in wasting resources on cubs that are probably going to be killed. It's like the lioness's body knows that the males have to establish themselves before they start to produce offspring. It's incredible. Now that's a sort of the answer is really, because it differs. It depends very much on the circumstances. There's his injury, a little bit visible. I can't see inside. Oh, there we go. It looks a little better to me. Ah, that's much better. It's still a massive hole, and there's still obviously infection eating away on the outside edge, but that is much, much better. See, he's going to be absolutely fine. I think that looks healthy and pink, from what I can see in my monitor. Well done, boy. You've done well. You've done really, really well. If we were a human being, we would be in hospital getting... Oh. Shame. Oh, shame, that hurts him, though. You can hear the little growl every time he sneezes. Probably got very irritated sinuses. But yes, if we were a human being... If we were a human being, we are human beings. If he were a human being, obviously that's what I'm trying to say. If he were a human being, he would be in hospital with intravenous antibiotics and on a whole number of different broad spectrums, and probably feeling thoroughly sorry for himself. As it is, he's a big male lion, life is tough out here, and as a result, the lions are even tougher. He's going to be absolutely fine. He's just been in some serious discomfort for quite a long time. Shame, boy. Not so nice, huh? But at least you've got your lady to keep you company. And the young lioness, again, going into estrus. This is a relatively regular occurrence. And again, false estrus initially, or at least not a full estrus for her first few estrus cycles, just because her body is still maturing. But relatively soon, I think there's a very good chance she's going to fall pregnant. For now, though, she has to deal with almost constant harassment by the males. As our lions snooze away, I think we're probably going to shift around and get a reposition to see the cubs again. Let's head across to Brent, find out what he's been up to.
Now these buffalo keep making my morning more and more difficult. So I'm hoping she's got a kill. So I've been checking on foot every single tree that a good spot to hoist something. And I checked a lot of this northern block till I got down towards the eastern side of it. And then I got that quintessential buffalo bull down the nose look. So I decided I was not going to take him on today, and I moved back to the vehicle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go slowly down here and look up into the trees with binoculars. Those, however, are not Karula and the cubs. It is a pair of grooming yellow-billed hornbills. Enjoying the morning sun, getting all their feathers fluffed. When you look at birds, I consider all of them, all the male birds at least, must be metrosexuals, because they spend all their time fluffing and preening and primping and definitely spend more time trying to look good than the ladies. And like most of the people in the Johannesburg gyms these days. Now, of course, there's a very important reason why they do that. Firstly, they're probably removing any little mites and parasites. And secondly, if their feathers aren't all perfectly aligned, it does make flight quite difficult. And as flight is something that's quite important for the majority of the bird species outside the ostriches and emus. And it is probably a good thing they take their time prepping and preening their feathers. Oh, I thought I heard something there. Okay, well, let's leave those birds. And speaking of birds, Julia says, one day could we start drive in front of the Juma camera and identify the birds calling for you? We shall definitely try, Julia. Unfortunately, we can't go there when there's guests in the lodge. And unfortunately, this morning was the last morning without guests for quite some time. But just to remind Final Control to remind me, and I will certainly try to do that for you, Julia. But now, while we keep our search going for the Queen of Juma, Jamie has got a little canine that's hanging around the cats.
Our little canid is really trying his luck, and he has been spotted by a lioness that is not terribly impressed with its presence. So our little jackal decided now was a good time to make an approach, since the carcass has been abandoned for now, but the lionesses are not having any of it. And now we have a standoff. She's hot, heavy, full of food, and she doesn't really want to run anywhere. And the jackal knows he is small and nimble enough, or she, I don't know if it's a male or a female, small and nimble enough to shift around and dart away from her. And now it's just a matter of which way are they going to go. She's hot and tired, and I reckon she's going to lie down soon. But is she going to go and lie down next to the carcass? There's not much shade. I think these are all the questions she's debating in her mind. She's come to a conclusion, and down she goes. Oh, now is the jackal going to be brave enough? She's watching carefully. And the jackal's just waiting for that opportunity, just at that moment where she puts her head down. Here comes the jackal back into view again. Sneaking forward, step by step. This changes the game a little bit. The fact that the cubs have now come to join this female probably means that the jackal is not going to make an approach. And the reason I say that is just because it will know instinctively that a mother protecting cubs, even though he is of no threat to the cubs, the mother protecting cubs is she's more likely to be more aggressive and more defensive of the cubs. I wonder if she thought perhaps she'd got off scot-free. Could perhaps have a moment to just lie down and not be clawed, scratched, or climbed upon. No, no such luck. Not a moment's rest for these poor females at the moment. But she is going back towards the rest of the group, leading the cubs with her. Now, will the jackal take this chance? It definitely wants something a bit more than leopard scat for breakfast. Lion scat. Interestingly enough, that's also our way out, Chandra. Well, that was our way out. It's the road that we came in on. It's not an easy block to navigate. Blocked by a pride of lions once again. Oh. Such a lovely scene. Still looking back towards the carcass. Here comes the jackal. Ooh, you're very brave. You're still being watched. He's going for it. Cautiously. And now we have a question as to whether or not the lioness can be bothered to get up again. I think she can. Ooh, she's toying with it. We're gonna keep watching the jackal. I'm gonna keep half an eye on the lioness as well. I'll keep describing what she's up to. She's got her head up and she's looking at him, but she hasn't moved. Ah, she's up. Vulture and one running lioness. Go away. This is my breakfast. I might not want to eat it right now. The jackals immediately decided to trot back towards, just waiting. The conundrum facing many a lioness and lion and leopard. They're very good at certain things, but lionesses, in fact all big cats, are not always all that good at problem solving. Trying to figure out why she can't drag the carcass over a tree and why it might be easier to go around it is one step a little bit too far. She wants to drag it down back closer to the rest of the pride because she wants to go and lie there. She doesn't want the scavengers to have any. She doesn't really want to have any herself. All in all, it's quite the conundrum for our poor lioness. What you gonna do, girl? You can't spend your whole time dashing backwards and forwards. It's just not very sensible. Maybe it's somebody else's turn. And back she goes. And this backwards and forwards between the scavengers and the predators are probably going to continue for a long time. The rest of the pride don't look like they could care less. Perhaps it's the job being allocated to her. Oh, a rare moment of affection there. Don't often see the Nkuhumas go up and greet the Birmingham boys. We do see it. Ah, yes, he's having a jolly good sniff. Nope, sorry, buddy. Nice to see that kind of affection. Usually you see the head rub greeting gesture between females, members of the same pride and cubs, and males as well. Ha! The jackal's pulled a sneaky maneuver. She can't see him from where she is, but the jackal has just popped out. He's decided to try for a different angle, although I have to say it's probably not the most sensible one. Ah! Never mind, his opportunity is gone. Look who's coming. Sorry everybody, I can't reposition at the moment. This is so interesting. The two males have obviously come into conflict recently. The mothers are immediately shepherding the cubs away. They're leading the cubs away, just in case there is a scrap between the two males. That's incredible. He's courting her. She's not ready yet. She's not ready to mate yet. And he's blocked her from moving where she wanted to go, which was to the rest of the pride. Now, how interesting is this? Look at this dynamic that's playing out. Male lion here, cubs over there, disappearing off into the distance, led away just in case there's a fight. Two lionesses who aren't terribly bothered, and one jackal that's taken advantage. He's there. Ah, so close, so close. There's too much happening here, Gendre, sorry. I'm sending you bouncing all over the place. Taking advantage of the momentary lapse in attention. As soon as that growling started, it's amazing. Oh, here comes the vulture as well. But the lions are up. The young lioness wants to chase them away. The big male won't let her go anywhere, because that's what male lions do when females are coming into estrus. She's trying to say to him, listen, you idiot, I really want to go just protect our food, don't you see? He's going, am I going to, are you interested yet? Are you ready yet? Shame. There the scavengers just taking their opportunity. Female trying to talk some sense into him, but it's not working. And the scavengers getting closer and closer. Now the jackal is moving in. The vulture and the jackal adopting a very similar approach. James Richard has suggested perhaps our jackal friend should go and search for some jackalberry berries, instead of risking this, since that would be a much safer endeavour than this one. Well, James, I think this jackal's played its cards exactly right. Oh, taking advantage of a moment of indecision from the entire lion pride and their lack of attention. Still not quite brave enough though. So close. So close to the carcass. But it's just not worth that risk. Because although the chances are very slim, if a lion were to catch him, it'd be dead. They would absolutely kill it. Particularly a young lion. He's about to get a smack. She's seriously thinking about it. She just wants to go and eat. She's not nearly as full as the others. He stopped her from eating again. She was probably involved in the hunt, but hasn't been allowed to feed. This is what courting male lions do. Block the movement of the females. Now there's some serious communication happening here with the males as well. He is massive. He is much, much bigger than that male. And that growling instantly got the message across. And off he vanishes. No conflict, no fighting. Jackal! Yay! The jackal's made it. Almost. Kind of. It's at least managed the stomach contents. Aha! Now the jackal wants to chase the vulture away. Okay, it's a difficult position to be in because I don't really want to miss any of the action. I'm going to reposition, I think. There you go, Siberia Zubi. You were saying you're surprised that the jackal doesn't go after a vulture while it's not paying attention. It is an interesting one. A jackal's a little bit tiny to take on a vulture without risking quite serious injury. It is possible, but it's unlikely that the jackal would try and actively hunt a vulture, especially not a jackal on its own. Even a hooded vulture, which is quite small, they're very powerful birds, and they've got strong bills. Where are you going, you silly thing? Now's your time. Now's the moment. Everybody's left. Look, the vulture's got it right. Yes, the vulture's got it right. There you go. Come on. Yeah, come on. Interesting. It's at least managed to get something. I'm not quite sure what it was. And for the most part, the two scavengers content to share each other's space, provided everybody's respected. And there you can see the caution of the jackal, grabbing something and then not eating it immediately, moving off slightly, constantly surveying the area around it. It almost does seem like an exhausting effort. It seems like it's spending more energy looking over its shoulder than it's gaining by actually feeding off the scraps. The temptation is there. Not quite brave enough to get in properly to the carcass. That skinny tail keeps throwing me completely. It's such a weird look for a jackal. Usually they have quite a thick bushy tail. Oh, the lioness is up once again. That spells the end of the jackal's attempts. Oh, come on, buddy. She's hungry. You can see how closely he is and how he's blocking her. Alright. Oh, there's going to be a scrap in a moment, or potential scrap in a moment. She just wants to feed. Inching closer to the carcass. Okay. Well, they've settled for now. For the meantime, let's just wait for a little bit just to see how the scenario plays out. She's getting crosser and crosser. That's not really a word. Angrier and angrier is perhaps a better one. Okay, we can reposition now, just to shift with the sun. Alright. Phlegm and grimace. That can't be very comfortable with such a sore face. So he's sucking in her scent, trying to test whether or not she's ready to mate yet, which she isn't, I don't think. But she's getting close, and pulling the scent up to the roof of his mouth to the vomeral nasal organ, so that he can taste the smell. And that is one seriously unimpressed lioness. Once more, one more phlegm and grimace, and then I think things have pretty much calmed down. Amazing interaction. Alright, while these two lions sort out their troubles, let's head across to Tayla and find out what she's up to.
I started off this morning saying that I wanted to find a tree that had been pushed over by the elephants, and I think I found the most beautiful specimen in the Sabi sand. This is a knobthorn. Well, it was a knobthorn. It's now, as you can see, a horizontal knobthorn, and I'm sure you can see as well. Let me try and balance. It's an amazing bit of sand that has stayed with the tree once it's been pushed over, and what I quite like is that you can still see all the grass. So it's not living anymore, unfortunately, but there's still lots and lots of grass that is attached. Now, we know that during the winter months of the year in South Africa, or even in Africa, the elephants tend to be a little bit more on the destructive side, just because they are looking for food. Perfect example, they pushed this tree over, exposing all these amazing roots that would have been filled with at some point they would have been nice and juicy and filled with nutrients, and that's what they would have been munching on. And I always say this, is that as destructive as that elephants can be, I also think that they lend a helping hand. I'm sure when they pushed this tree over, perhaps it would have had some nice green leaves on it, and things like bushbuck, things like kudu could have come and fed off of this tree. And it also provides a shelter. Now, you're going to just have to take my word for this, but just as we arrived, you won't believe who was hiding underneath this tree, a scrub hare. So, beautiful spot. Nice, lots of thorns. Not nice for something like a big eagle that would be flying overhead. They'd probably leave that scrub hare alone. It's a bit too tricky for them to get in there. So I hope that scrub hare finds another good spot, or perhaps comes back here. Now, something else caught my eye as usual. You know, I never concentrate on one thing. I saw something shiny just around the corner, and shiny it is. It's been bothering me. I've been staring at it for the last few minutes. Can you see how shiny that is over there? Look at that shiny thing. Now I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to show you what it once was. Look at this. I'm going to empty the sand out. Got the sand in my eyes. Can you see that? It's just the carapace of some beetle, as you can see. I'm just always checking around me. I heard some impala alarm calling. I see some impala running very fast. No, I think it's just the males, sorry. Just need to a little scan around me because we are out here on our own. Now, so I think what's happened here is the hornbills, my favorite friend. I think they've managed to find this beetle of some sort, and they're very delicate actually when they do try and take out all the yummy inside bits. They don't particularly want to eat this hard outside. It's got no nutrition at all, and so what they do is they sort of crunch around at it a little bit like you would almost crack an egg, a boiled egg, a hard boiled egg, and they crack it until they can pull the head off, which will then expose all the lovely gooey bits, and pull that out. Then you get left with something that's hollow like this. That's not all that I found that's down on the ground. Look, we've got some porcupine poo. Take out my wand, which VM kindly spotted, because I can only spot the shiny things, of course. That seems to be the only thing that follows me around. Look at the porcupine poo. There's lots of it around here. Now, it's quite old. Let's see if we can break it up a little bit. Lovely red color, often see that. Porcupines. No anything like that? Okay. Not too much interesting in the porcupine today. Now one more thing, we'd go around, I found a little digging. Let's go see. Now I wonder if that porcupine poo is perhaps not related to this. Now James, Richard, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about my favorite story. Let me tell you about that as we make our way towards the hole. I'm thinking about it and I'm tossing and turning between two stories. It's either the story about discovering a waterfall down in the Eastern Cape, but I think I'll save that for a rainy day, and I'm going to tell you about my most amazing experience that I've had on a walk with a rhino. I was with a group of guests. I'm going to take a seat on one of these termite mounds and hope that my bum doesn't get bitten. So I was out on a walk, just casually chatting about all sorts of lovely things like what we've done today. And as you know, we don't want to approach game intentionally. No, I came to a massive open plain, almost like what you see at cheetah plains in that open area. So I thought, okay, there's nothing here, no buffalo, nothing like that. And of course, we know white rhinos like the open areas. And it was winter. In winter, and down in the Eastern Cape, there's lots of green grass. That's when they get most of their rain. So it was beautiful. And I came around, went over a little crest, and there I saw some rhinos, and I thought, oh, fantastic. Now, we were very far away. We had the wind in our favor. We were downwind of the animals, and we had the sun on our side. The sun was shining in the eyes of the rhinoceros. So I said to my guests, let's go to the little tree, and it was an acacia karoo, a little forest of them. And I said, let's just sit underneath them. They sort of formed an umbrella thanks to the kudu browse line, so they sort of pruned the tree for us. So we sat like this underneath this thorn tree, and we sat and we actually sat for about half an hour, and we watched, and they slowly started feeding towards us. And it was a group of rhinos, so it was two mothers with calves, one calf slightly older, almost getting ready to leave mom, and then quite a young calf. I completely forget exactly how old they were. It was quite a small one, and then there was a bull tailing them along. And so there were 5 rhinos in total. Watching them, really beautiful, and then they started coming a little bit too close, and I got a bit nervous because I thought, well, if the wind changes, we're going to be in a bit of trouble, and I don't want to get myself caught into that situation. Anyway, we sat there for a little bit longer, and everything was just on my side. The rhinos ended up coming about 40 meters away from us, which was so close. It was so beautiful, almost the same distance as the zebra were away from us this morning. And then it's like, I don't know what happened, they just turned and they put their heads back down and they walked back the way they came from. Amazing. So we sat there and enjoyed that, and it was lovely. So that is my favorite story of the bush, just being able to sit and interact and watch these animals without us interfering with them. And while I find something else great to show you, let's go to Mr. Leo Smith himself and see how his morning has treated him.
So hi and bye to Ephraim, and hi to all of you. So we're still on the search for Karula. We're pretty sure she's somewhere in that block, but unfortunately the amount of elephant and buffalo in there are not letting us walk. So we're gonna probably give it a break, and I think hopefully we'll be able to find her on the sunset safari. But now, the nearly impossible tree quiz. Brian did a very good job because people have got the family, but not the actual individual. So it was Drew and, do you remember, Brian? Drew and Lindsay, there we go, thank you, Kirsten, who got it correct. It was indeed a combretum. There's another one, but not the combretum, the most common combretum. It's the more difficult combretum. You can see that little pinkish hue on the leaves of this one. It is a veritable bush willow, Combretum calinum. There we go. Well done, Brian. I think maybe we should let Brian choose all the nearly impossible trees, because it seems he chooses more impossible ones than we do. So there we go. Well done to Drew and Lindsay for getting the family correct. The Combretum or bush willow family, and that specific one, the Combretum calinum. It does roll quite nicely off the tongue. Combretum calinum. Now, in our search for the Queen of Djuma, we have come across many other animals. And the two sets of animals we've come across the most in our search for Queen Karula is, of course, the Cape Buffalo, who stared down his schnoz at me, and the elephants, who fortunately did not see me while I was walking. But here we've got some nice and close to the road. Hi guys! Enjoying your break of the fast. Now, elephants don't truly have a break of the fast because they never fast, not by choice anyway, and they feed throughout the day and night. And at the moment, this elephant cow is feeding off the Bush Pharmacy's aphrodisiac. Now, I know it's supposed to work for men. I don't know if this works for ladies, but she's eating the hairy caterpillar bush. Oh, using her tusk, she's ambi-tusked. Because by the wear on the tusks, it looks like she uses both. Oh, that's a tough caterpillar bush. She's going to try pull it straight out of the ground. Look at that. No. Oh, that hairy caterpillar bush is proving quite tough. Oh, she's decided to move on to the other hairy caterpillar bush. Maybe that one will be easier to break up. Now she might move. I know she's after the next caterpillar bush, the smallest. Maybe she'll have a bit more succeed. Now, breeding herds of elephants are a matriarchal society. And normally the oldest or biggest female is the dominant matriarch. And Debbie's wondering, will other elephants challenge the matriarch for her spot? Not really. If there is a real sort of disagreement between adult females, quite often you'll find the other adult female will break off on her own with her related offspring and start a new herd. And that's not uncommon. And even within a big group of elephants, 40 or 50, you can have maybe 4 or 5 different little family groups with a dominant female from that family group within each. And she's decided that the hairy caterpillar bush has won the battle. What she got there now? A weeping wattle, much easier to break and destroy. Not quite so tough. Now, I must say, today on Djuma, how many different herds of elephant have we seen? Maybe 7 or 8. And quite often we're seeing them in the distance, in the middle of the bush. But there are an inordinate amount of elephants at the moment. Now, this female we're looking at the moment is quite old. And you can see that indentation on her skull. And if we look towards her hips and her back, you can see she's getting quite skinny. So she's possibly already on her last set of teeth. And probably around 50 years old, maybe a bit older still. And as they get older and their teeth get worn down, you can see how she starts losing condition, and it is quite sad, but I mean, she's led a long life already, and slowly she will not be able to keep up with the rest of the herd. Elephants will wait for aged or old members to a point for a couple of weeks till They sort of just move off. Sometimes if she's got a sub-adult calf or a young calf, it will stay with her. If she's got a very young calf, it often will die with her because it won't leave its mother. Now, interesting enough, there are a few cases of adoption in elephants, but it is not that common. Oh, here comes the wind. Now, you can see she's got 2 sets of tusks, and most of the elephants we see here have tusks, but occasionally we come across elephants that are tuskless. And Dark Tranquility is wondering, how much does it affect their life? It does make certain foodstuffs more difficult to obtain, but in general they will adapt quite quickly to not having tusks. And as those elephants disappear off into the bush, I think we're going to disappear off to Amanda's amazing breakfast. So it's been wonderful having you on the Sunrise Safari. So from the killer bees and maybe slightly more awake thumb now, we'll see you in a few short hours for the Sunset Safari.
We made it safe and sound to Quarantine Plains. Thank goodness I didn't get lost. I had a wonderful team. And I hope you enjoyed the morning with all of us out on bushwalk. Quite a big group today, and it was lots of fun, and I learned so much. And yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed it. Now, as you can see, the wind has picked up and the sun has come out, which is fantastic. And I hope that you have a fantastic day. And we will see you soon. So from myself, from VM, from Rexon, from Steph, who's silent today, we wish you well and hope you have a fantastic afternoon.
Well, you'll be happy to see that the lioness, the young lioness, has finally been given the chance to consume a little bit of this buffalo. It's just such a pity that there's hardly anything left. I think this is probably the fastest I have ever seen the Nkuhumas get rid of a buffalo, consume a buffalo. And I think that probably by this afternoon, whilst they won't have moved far, I think that this carcass will be pretty much finished. It is interesting. I was trying to work out exactly why it is that the male blocks the female from eating when he wants to mate with her. It doesn't necessarily make a massive amount of sense. I guess it's just that their hormones and the protective instinct kicks in. But as soon as she did let him mount her earlier, but it wasn't a proper mating. But it was almost like he displayed his dominance and then he let her feed. It's just an interesting question about their dynamics and the way that they work. For now, though, she has managed to eat a little bit, or whatever's left. He's not interested in eating anything. I think he's already eaten his fill. And he's content to just sit and watch and wait until he has his chance to mate with her. Which actually applies, not quite for the same reason, but applies to the approach of our scavengers as well. Our little jackal has curled up in the sun and gone to sleep. He's very much directly into the sun, and he's almost behind the vehicle, but he is visible. And we'll just have a quick look at him, curled up in a ball. Here we go. Here he is. This is probably one of the safest and the most dangerous places to sleep, all enrolled into one. Our little jackal patiently waiting, and our hooded vulture is hidden at the moment, but it's also around, still waiting for its opportunity to eat some of the scraps. And what a lovely sighting, what a lovely morning it has been with the Nkuhumas. The rest of them have moved off into the shade. I don't think they're too far away. I think that the lionesses just did the sensible thing and moved them off somewhere safe, and we will of course be checking up on them. We've had such amazing times with the Nkuhumas. I don't think we're going to lose track of them at any point. They seem to be pretty much permanently set on being around Djuma. It is time for us to finish off with the Sunrise Safari. It's also time for us to make space for some of the other vehicles who've decided to come and join us. Unfortunately, I feel like they might have missed out on the best of the action that this morning had to offer. We'll have to wait and see what transpires with these lions. Now, just to let you all know, there will be a sunset safari this afternoon, so you will be able to find out what happens with these lions and what they're up to. It will, of course, be a rehearsal, so it will be a shorter drive, than normal. It will be finished 1 hour earlier, but we will be out and about, and you will get to join in with us and get a little behind-the-scenes glimpse into our rehearsals. Now we reach the end. It's time to say our thank yous and our goodbyes. So a big thank you to Jean-Andre for doing an amazing job, I'm sure you'll all agree, of camera work this morning, as well as to Kirsty and Jerry in final control, and our entire tech team that keep things running behind the scenes. And then most importantly, a big thank you to all of you for joining us across the world, wherever you may happen to be. I'll catch up with you on the Sunset Safari. Until I see you then, I hope you have an amazing day wherever you happen to be.